Based off the success of Batman Forever, Warner Bros. Immediately fast-tracked another sequel, set for release in June of 1997. Director Joel Schumacher and writer Akiva Goldsman were both asked to return. Chris O'Donnell agreed to come back as Robin, while Val Kilmer opted not to return as Batman. This satisfied Joel Schumacher, as they notoriously did not get along on set. To replace Kilmer, TV actor George Clooney was chosen. Uma Thurman was cast as the villain, Poison Ivy. Alicia Silverstone was the first and only choice to play Batgirl, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was paid a reported $25 million to play the diabolical Mr. Freeze. With the cast set, principal photography began in September of 1996 and went until January 1997. Many of the cast and crew felt that this movie was going to be way goofier and much more kid-friendly than the previous sequel. Released on June 20th, 1997, Batman and Robin was a modest box office hit, but an all-around critical dud. Thanks to the hyper-elevated levels of camp, with such flourishes as Mr. Freeze's constant ice puns and extreme close-up shots of bat nipples and butts, this movie's legacy has become one of legend. Not only is it considered the film that killed the Batman franchise, but many consider it to be one of the worst films of all time. Joel Schumacher himself apologizes for making this film, and George Clooney claims that he will refund anyone who personally complains to him about having had to have watched this film their full ticket price. But how has the passage of time treated this film? Is it now considered a redeemable cult classic, or is it still just an epic bat turd? Find out what we thought of this movie right now as Colin Harris and I chip away at the icy exterior of this classic film. So light up your cigar made of ice, get your poison bane juices flowing, and remember not to leave home without your Bat credit card, because we're about to buy into one of the craziest movies ever put to celluloid. This is the fourth and final film in the Batman Motion Picture Anthology franchise, 1997's Joel Schumacher classic, Batman and Robin. This is a show about franchises. Superhero movie franchises. You're listening to License to Watch.
Why in the world was this movie made?
I did get my boba, so I'm in a much better mood than I was when I finished watching this.
What's your order? What's the?
Did you drank the whole thing already?
I drank the whole thing already. I needed that much cheering up. I just got the I got an almond milk
just
tea.
suck those little balls down.
Yeah.
Does nobody pound boba?
Yeah, I got the almond milk tea. I always do like almond or pistachio or just the plain milk tea. I'm not that adventurous, but
does it have the lid where you stab?
Boba.
Where you stab through it?
It did have the stabbing lid. Yeah, I
so
just
you just stab like a bunch of holes and then just turn it upside down with
That's
your mouth
exactly
open
it.
as wide
Just
as possible, right?
do a boba shot.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So Colin, tell us about you were talking to Carl Tart. Want to elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I message him sometimes about basketball.
Like late at night, like you up?
I mean,
Space Jam is on.
Yeah. So anyways, I think one thing was like we had a long conversation about Luka Doncic, who plays for the Mavericks, and then I told him about how I like the Clippers also, and then I told him about all the different Clippers players I liked, and how I thought that like Elton Brand's career would make like a great Shakespearean tragedy, because he was so good and his teams lost so many games. And what else? I don't know. I got a laugh from him the other day. I think yesterday or 2 days ago.
A sympathy laugh?
There's no way to know it.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I don't think Tart gives sympathy laughs. He spent our entire podcast telling you to close down your computer and leave.
Oh, yeah. You know what it was? Is there was what's his name? There's like a Clippers player, and it was like a highlight reel from when he used to play for the Clippers, and I sent him the highlight reel, and he's like, yeah, that's cool, but he sucked in the playoffs, so I don't like him or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, it was just a good highlight reel. It's too bad, like, he didn't, like, go back in time and fix his mistakes. I'm sorry that, like, we didn't get that highlight reel. And then I was like, more players need to talk about how they want to do time travel or something like that.
What I think is fascinating is that listening to Colin recount a text joke that he sent to Carl Tart is somehow even more boring than normally listening to Colin
so
set up one of his terrible puns. Matt, why did you invite this on our show? Is this really how we want to start things off?
I instantly regret it.
Our entire audience has already tuned out and been like, well, maybe next episode will be funny. I don't know.
I think
I'm going to sidestep this mess by introducing our guest.
yeah.
Once again, joining us is friend of the pod, Chandler Smidt,
And
How are
designated
you?
closer.
designated closer for the third time.
Three-peat.
What were the other two you closed? Star Trek and Am I?
Mission,
The Mission
Impossible.
Impossible.
yeah. Wow.
Wow.
It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. I was like, God, last time we did this, was it the pandemic? And then I was like, it's always been the pandemic.
Yeah, the
When has
show
it not been the
began.
pandemic?
We were molded
I
by
don't
the
even
pandemic.
remember the
I
before
was
time.
born in it. But I'm happy to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. Thanks.
Everyone's happy.
Sorry you had to watch this movie.
Did you check out those Shrek videos?
Oh my God, no. You know why I'm trying to cut down on Shrek? Because
Yeah.
Since I became aware
it's
of
become
how
a
often
problem.
I think about Shrek, I'm like, it needs to stop, everyone. I need a break. But
Oh,
it's
yeah.
on the list.
And you got the Howie Mandel puns.
You guys, that really... My dad told me that, and I was so shaken by that. Like,
That Howie
'Cause
Mandel
Howie
is
Ma-
a voice actor.
well, for me, because he was always like
Deal or no
that
deal.
game show host
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Like, my dad was like, he was an 80s icon, and I was like, I don't know.
You're too
don't
young to remember
know.
Bobby's World, clearly.
Some-
But I watched Bobby's World.
Oh, okay.
I just had no idea.
You just didn't know that the guy with the freaking
trike?
medical glove over his head was the talent behind that.
No idea.
Some legends say that Howie Mandel once had hair.
Yep.
I don't believe. I don't
Luscious
think so.
Jerry curled locks. I think
Yeah.
they were all. I think that was fake though. I think all that and the facial hair was all just glued on.
He's like, I'll just wear this for a couple years and then just remove it, and no one will be the wiser.
Like Ross getting rid of his accent, quote unquote, in Friends.
Yeah.
He's phasing it out.
Finally,
Noah.
Howie Mandel was like, "I'm big enough to just admit to the world that I have alopecia."
Good for him. You know what?
Yep. Out and proud.
He's still a germaphobe, right?
Yes, he is.
Isn't that his
That's
thing?
actually why he shaves all his hair, because he thinks hair is gross. So he just
Served
doesn't
him
want
well.
any on him.
Served him well lately. He's all like, I
Really?
told you.
Yeah, smooth as a baby down there too. It's everywhere. Just shaves and waxes everything.
So what? He
Yeah.
doesn't think germs can get in the space that's like right in the middle of your bottom lip.
No, that's the one place that's safe from germs.
That's like no germs can ever get there. Okay.
Nobody ever heard of germs getting into a pirate piercing either, apparently.
I guess so.
All right, let's get into it. So the movie we're talking about here is some people consider it a classic. Some people consider it the greatest cinematic experience of all time. It is a movie that will long be treasured by many people. It's a film. It's of course Batman and Robin, the second Joel Schumacher Batman adventure, and the fourth overall in the Tim Burton Joel Schumacher series of Batman films.
And thank God the final.
yeah.
I can't believe how many people apologized for this movie who were in a part of making it.
This might set the record for the most apologies from one single movie.
You
Yeah,
just don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've seen like 2, maybe 3 different interviews with different people where Clooney has like apologized for this movie.
Yeah, there was a
I killed the
rumor
franchise.
that he
I
was
killed the franchise.
that if people like for a while, if people told him that they watched the movie, he would pay them back. He'd refund them their ticket price. I mean, this movie
Does
just
he account for inflation?
yeah. This movie
I gotta
just
find him now.
Starts off like the very in the most basic of ways, they screw things up almost immediately. Did anybody else? This has always bothered me, but the titles of these movies are wrong. You know,
They're backwards, right?
Yeah, they're backwards. The last one should have been Batman and Robin because they introduced Robin, and this one should have been Batman Forever when the series had gone on for far too long.
Because of the credit
Forever.
card.
Yeah.
Well, the thing
like
about-
Batman, oh, it's forever.
Well, the thing about forever is you're not thinking about Harris. You're only thinking about it going from the time you say forever forward in time. But forever can actually mean both forward in time and backward in time. You're not thinking fourth dimensionally, Harris.
Like Batman's been going on forever, and God, when will
Yeah.
Batman end? And
So like
the answer
when
was
they
this
made
movie.
Batman Forever, that means Batman was forever for the movies before and also forever for the movies after. And eventually it comes back around in a circle.
Well, it still hasn't ended.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it goes
that's
on
true.
forever.
It keeps
That's true.
going and going.
Did you
Yeah,
guys
it's
also
true.
notice that when he holds up the Batman credit card, it says it's good until forever?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the stupidest thing.
That might be the funniest thing that happens in this movie, which is how low the bar is for actual
Is it
humor.
supposed to be a joke also?
Yes.
I couldn't tell if it was like
Yeah.
taking it
This
so.
is,
I was like, this is really towing the line. Like, am I laughing with you or at you? I don't know.
Well,
this
there-
whole movie is very confusing.
yeah, the whole movie's a joke.
At that point, they're talking about amounts in like the 10 million range. And so like his credit line as a person who has no identity is over $10 million. Like, what does Visa know?
His credit line
That-
is forever.
Yeah. Well, like, but how do you, when you're applying as Batman, like, you can't
What's the
use
annual
Bruce,
fee for something like that?
and you can't
What's your
use
social security?
Well, I think you use Bruce Wayne as a reference.
a reference.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne's backstopping this.
What credit card applications have or go by reference?
He's a co-signer.
I believe
He's a
it was-
co-signer.
All right,
I believe this was
okay.
Deutsche Bank, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was-
Deutsche
they're just going to
Bank.
extend it on faith. They're like, we feel we got a good feeling about this guy. He's never let us down
Okay.
before.
Okay.
When he gets in trouble,
Okay.
he just declares bankruptcy and changes his costume.
But doesn't that mean someone at Visa pretty much knows that he's Batman? and
I
that
think
Batman
the
is
Visa
Bruce
folks
Wayne?
could put it together. But also, have you noticed that in this series, everyone fucking knows that he's Batman? Like, all the villains figure it out. Every woman he's ever dated figured it out. Like, this whole series is like just a bunch of people finding out that he's Batman and then dying or being cool about it, you know?
Either dying or becoming a superhero themselves.
How about Batgirl? She was like, "It's me. It's me,
Yeah.
Bruce. It's me." I was like,
That was
"You're-
the
this is-
funniest.
What's
yeah.
the point of his secret identity? What is happening? I
Also-
mean, obviously, but also what? It's
Also, she's
me.
wearing like a domino mask with like her same haircut and face and everything. You know, it's like, it's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
You don't
obviously.
recognize me? I'm like, this is the disbelief I cannot suspend.
Yeah. Chandler, what is your feeling about this movie? Or, like, why did you want to do this podcast in particular? Do you love this movie? Do you hate this movie with a passion?
Oh, it's nostalgia for me. This is
How old were
something
you
me
when
and
you
my
first
brother
saw
were
this?
Really into it. Oh God, I don't know. I must have been around like 6. I think it was my brother's first movie that he remembered going to. I checked in with my dad, and he was like, "No, your brother's first movie was Lethal Weapon 2, and he was 6 days old." And I was like, "Okay." First of all, what? Second of all, that doesn't count. He doesn't remember. He's a baby. So I think this is the one he actually remembered. And then he was just really obsessed with Batman. And so I became obsessed with Batman naturally. But I think mostly it was Poison Ivy. I just like the biggest crush on her. And not only Uma Thurman, but also Poison Ivy in the animated series.
Yep.
But rewatching it, I was like, God, Poison Ivy is so much cooler in every other iteration. But still hot.
I have to say,
Still
6 years
smoking
old
hot.
has to be the target
Yes.
audience for this. I think that's like the perfect air. Like if
The
you
toy commercial.
like, I can't be sure that every 6-year-old would enjoy this movie. But if you're gonna get somebody, it's gonna be a 6-year-old.
Get me.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Like, I tried to tap into my, like, inner child as I was watching this movie, and for a kid, there are some really impressive things going on in this movie. For an adult, there are some really stupid things going on in this movie.
I
don't know.
I knew everything that was happening was really bad, and yet I was enjoying it so much. It's really confusing how I'm supposed to evaluate this movie.
You might say that Colin is the inner child of the License to Watch podcast.
Yeah, notice the complete lack of surprise on my face that Colin somehow found a way to enjoy this turd.
Is there a movie that Colin did not like that you've discussed?
Yeah, he doesn't like good movies sometimes. Every once in a while, he hates a movie that like involves too much thinking or,
That makes
or
sense.
a
What
patient
movie-
plot.
What movie did I say was bad? I don't know.
I honestly can't think of one.
Yeah. No, you gave your worst score ever was like From Russia with Love, I think was one of them, which isn't
It's like
bad. It's
4 or
better
5.
than this.
It's just old and
Also-
so much scuba.
A low score for Colin is like a 7, I think. So so you're right. He doesn't really dislike anything.
I give 5 sometimes.
Every once in a while.
Yeah. I don't know how to not give this one a 9 based on enjoyment.
This is kind of like the Moonraker of this series.
Yeah, it's worse than Moonraker. I guess after all this time, you guys have found something nice that I can say about Moonraker. This is a worse movie.
What's up, y'all? The name's Earl. I'm what you might call a big fan of the License to Watch podcast and their corresponding Patreon show. I put the emphasis on the word big because, well, I weigh 1,800 pounds. That's right, I am a sad excuse for a man. Yes, I live in a trailer. Yes, it is a physical impossibility for me to exit said trailer. And yes, I spend most of my days wallowing in self-pity while simultaneously listening to the soothing voices of Matt, Harris, and especially that Texas boy, Colin. Well, anyways, I'm here to tell y'all about the License to Watch exclusive content show. You can subscribe and listen to additional bonus content shows for only $1 a month. All you got to do is head on over to www.patreon.com/L2W. What you'll find over at that there website is a bevy of non-franchise movies covered by them License to Watch boys. Twister, Hard Boiled, Rudy, Dune, Mask of the Phantasm, and even the Justice League. Zack Snyder's Justice League, that is. Woo-wee! So dig deep into your pockets, because Lord knows some people can't reach them no more. And cough it up for those boys you love to listen to. That website, once again, is www.patreon.com/L2W. So subscribe now. I haven't bathed in years. The stench is unbearable.
I guess like me, like watching this movie, for me, I kind of went into this going with my memory, which is that this movie and Batman Forever are obviously made by the same people with the same style, but that this one like takes it too far and is like far sillier than Batman Forever. But I was kind of shocked at, like, at least for me, how similar this movie is to Batman Forever. It really is trying to do the same thing. And there's like, other than just like, I don't know, some mild silliness, like they're really very similar. Do you guys feel the same way, or do you feel like they're different movies?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you and had the exact same take. The only difference is that I firmly, it made me realize how much worse Batman Forever was than I initially thought. Rather than thinking, oh, this movie isn't as bad as its reputation because it's basically very similar to Batman Forever, I was like, you know what? This movie is terrible, and Batman Forever was not that much better.
You know what I saw today is we watched like a couple Arnold movies recently. We've all seen a lot of Arnold movies. I was really watching Arnold today, and I feel like this Arnold performance is the Arnold performance after he watched Jim Carrey in Batman Forever. Like, otherwise he would be, he's much more serious in everything, even like the stupid funny movies he's in. He's like more serious in Twins, you know, and Junior than this, where he's, you know, technically being serious because he's evil or whatever, but like it's just pretty over the top.
Well, he's playing the straight man in Twins and Junior, whereas in this he's definitely hamming it up because he's, you know, doing what Batman villains basically do in this whole series. Even in the Burton movies, they were hamming it up.
How does a frozen cigar work?
Oh my god, I had the same thought. I was like, what's happening here? It's blue, but is it lit? Like, what's happening?
Did you know that, like, he insisted those were Havana cigars that he had painted white so he could smoke on set during takes? So that was all his idea. He was just like, I want to have cigars all the time, so just paint them white so I can smoke them.
Yeah, that sounds unhealthy though. What he's smoking the white paint at that point, right?
I'm sure they made it.
Okay, well, he's also smoking cigars.
Yeah.
So like, what's the difference?
Health is obviously not the highest concern.
I kind of have a hot take here. I think this movie would be a lot better. I mean, it would kind of be in the same vein of like what it already is, but I think, and Chandler, you're probably not going to like this. I think Poison Ivy makes this movie sillier than it needs to be. I think if she wasn't a villain in this movie,
I think that's
agree.
Bane's fault.
yeah, well, Bane and her, they're kind of
Them together, they don't.
Wait.
Nothing really. If you took those two out, you have a functioning villain with a drive.
yeah.
Like I understand why he's doing everything he's doing. She's like, I want to save the planet, and I'm Mother Nature, and then she's like eating flowers. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I was confused by that too.
Yeah, sure. He's got a little bit of a storyline and backstory, but are you really saying that Mr. Freeze isn't silly? This would not get less silly.
Well,
and, like with either of these villains, you're not going to make it less silly. Mr. Freeze is ridiculous.
Oh, he's silly.
I have a
He's silly.
question about this. So
But he's emotionally grounded.
Right. He's the only character in this entire movie that actually gets not even, well, no, this is a whole other complaint, but I don't think any of the characters are really that developed, but he is, I guess, the most developed of all of the underdeveloped characters in this movie.
but he's built a suit that is powered by diamonds that uses the diamonds up and makes lasers that make it cold.
Yeah, I've
What
got a
is
lot of questions about this.
I don't.
I've got a lot of questions about this.
So far off.
Yeah.
Colin, your mind, you just wouldn't be able to understand the technology of it, the science behind it.
Clearly
level of
not.
Science.
It's
Also,
really complicated stuff.
I think it's funny that like he's got this. I feel like I don't know. I don't follow the comics really, but I feel like usually in the comics, he's sort of a reluctant villain because his goal is to save his wife, and he's only doing bad things in order to save his wife. And in this, he literally, one of his first lines is "kill the heroes." So this is clearly, and Poison Ivy too. I don't think either of these characters are the kind of characters that would think of themselves as villains, but because they're in this movie, they are very much like admittedly evil villains.
Yeah.
And like he says later, it'll be like Adam and Evil. But I don't think either of these characters are supposed to think of themselves as bad, but they sort of own up to it multiple times in this, which is just bizarre.
That's the universe we're in at this point.
Yeah.
So.
I saw this movie in the theater. Me and two friends went like immediately after school on a Friday, and I
Way to
just
ruin the
remember. Yeah, I remember one of the first lines in the movie when Batman is driving the Batmobile, like
Which has no
very
roof.
First scene.
Sorry.
Yeah, it has no roof, and he's like
Stupid.
leaving the Batcave, and Commissioner Gordon pops up on the screen, and he says, "Batman, there's a new villain in town."
Yeah.
Just that line.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my god, they
Well,
took it too far."
Kids,
That
buy new
line's-
toys.
Yeah, that line's like also bad for a lot of reasons because it means that they haven't like seen or known anything about Mr. Freeze before, and yet they continue to have things that are clearly made specifically for a conflict with Mr. Freeze. Like the little heating lasers, the little heating discs, the ice skates in their shoes.
Oh my god.
Oh, so
Yeah.
stupid. So stupid. Yeah.
What if you accidentally click your heels and you're not on ice and the ice skate pops out and you're like,
Yeah,
stuck on
exactly. Like I want to know
Still a
what
weapon.
the functionality of that is.
you ruined the hardwood floors, Batman.
You do a roundhouse kick and you slice someone's throat.
Yeah, accidentally decapitate somebody, and then you're like, killing people doesn't count if it's accidental, right?
Oops. You turn them into mincemeat pie and you make a musical about it, and bam, you're in another Tim Burton movie. Even though this one's
It's like-
not
Back
Tim
when you-
Burton.
It's like they finally caught up to the idea that Batman doesn't kill people in this one too. This is
Yeah.
like the first time he actually doesn't kill anybody, right?
Well, in the last one he didn't, and in the last one he was actively saving people, like saving bad guys from accidentally killing them. So
But he killed Two-Face.
no,
he threw the
that
coins
that was
up in
kind
the
of
air.
that was another one where like it wasn't.
What did he
really-
think
Debatable.
was going to happen?
Debatable.
What did he think was going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was another one where it wasn't really his fault, but he also saved a lot of Toothface's henchmen when they were almost accidentally going to be killed. So I don't know. It seemed like they had already established this. I mean, they're in very much making a kids movie mode, which is why this is the first time that I've ever seen this movie start to finish. We talked last time about Batman Forever being the only movie or the first movie that I ever walked out of the theaters on. And then I saw this one, like I would see bits and pieces on TV and be like, I made a good call never seeing this. You know, I shouldn't watch this movie. I'm not the target audience for this.
Here you are,
and
sucker.
Yeah, and it's happened. I've watched it now, and I was smart all those years to avoid it.
So I saw it in the theaters the first time, and like I knew it was bad, and yet I was still like the only one of my friends, defending it, saying it was good in any way. And there was a big reason for that.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, there was a big reason for that. Can any of you guess what it was?
That you were so invested in Batman that it blinded you to everything else.
All the close-ups of butts.
Close, getting closer. Her name was Alicia Silverstone.
Okay.
And she meant so much to me at that age that I thought that she had given the performance of a lifetime and was perhaps the greatest screen star that ever lived.
You saw her in this movie and you thought
Yeah.
her career is just beginning.
Yes,
Oh,
I absolutely did. I absolutely did.
Yeah.
And,
That's what I was
yeah.
when I was looking up beforehand. I was like, where is this in her? Is this peak Alicia Silverstone? And then
It is.
No. What I learned was that she had already peaked at this point, and this was the beginning of the steep Alicia Silverstone decline, which not really her fault, I don't think, but
Which brings me to my next point. I'm hard pushing for us to watch Blast from the Past for a bonus show because I
Oh my
love
God.
one of her
we
only
have
great
to.
late roles. Yeah, that's
I love Brendan Fraser. Oh my God.
when you just started that sentence with "I'm hard." I almost jumped in to stop you because I was like, whoa. Let's keep we're in mixed company here.
Who's mixed? Can you guys do Brendan Fraser series and then can I close that out?
Oh, we should do
The
the
Mummy?
Mummy. That's the one.
I don't want to close out the Mummy. I want to.
Yeah,
I'll kick off the Mummy.
You wanna open the
Hold
Mummy.
on a second.
Yeah, you gotta open.
I
the
like
Mummy.
Tom Cruise, but I don't like him that much. Okay.
Oh wait, but I thought that movie doesn't like.
I think
doesn't
that wouldn't
connect.
count. That would have to be a bonus one because it's. I think the
Yeah, I thought you were referring to the Scorpion King 2.
no. I think the canonical.
I refuse.
I mean,
That's
those are
blasphemy,
spin-offs.
okay?
So I don't think they count either. I think it's the one where they're in China and they recast.
Oh, yeah.
What's her
Son.
name? With
They recast
Rachel
her?
Weisz?
yeah, they recast her with who the fuck did they recast her with?
Jet Li.
Oh, that's
I
why
thought it was a
didn't
different
watch
character.
it.
No, they just recast
Oh.
they're married at that point. So, anyways,
Rachel
we'll
Weisz.
see.
Sounds like you're quite familiar with the Brendan Fraser Mummy
I
series.
reviewed
Yeah.
that third one when I was writing for the newspaper, and I liked
The
the first two.
newspaper.
So
Yeah,
You ever heard of it?
back in the 20s.
back in my day,
He reviewed the 1933 version of the Mummy.
hey chief, what's my assignment? They got this new picture. It's called The Mummy: Tomb of the Dragon Empire.
Go down to the Nickelodeon and
Harris
tell us what you
McCabe.
find.
Harris McCabe, our veteran of yellow journalism here.
Have the copy on my desk by 8 a.m. All right. Should I do my
Didn't-
review so we can?
Didn't you say that Upton Sinclair stole the idea for the jungle from you?
one of my many specious claims.
Yeah.
I'll get you next time, Sinclair.
And I spent all that time in the meat packing district.
Yeah. I ate raw meat, see?
No, I was just dancing. All right, you ready? You ready?
We
for me to
work
do my
hard. We play
synopsis?
hard. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, get that clock ready. It's tough because this one is hard because it's so dumb that you can leave a lot of the plot stuff out, but it's hard to fit in all of the plot elements, all the important plot elements, and actually to do a summary justice, you really have to incorporate the overall dumbness of the movie somehow, which is a tough balancing act.
I guarantee you're going to somehow leave out Julia, but whatever.
Yes, Julia got cut entirely. So if you
Yeah,
want to hear more about
thought
Julia, you have to tune into our bonus episode all about Bruce Wayne's girlfriend that was totally extraneous.
I
Yeah,
wanna
You mean
what was
Julie?
that?
Julie Madison?
Whatever her name is.
It wasn't Julia.
Whatever.
It was Julie,
No,
not
it's-
Julia?
I think it's Julie.
I thought it was Julia.
I thought it was
Who
Ghoulia.
cares?
Ghoulia.
Oh, Julia.
All right, you ready, Harris?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. On your mark, get set. Batman.
Okay, so Batman and Robin get a call that there's a new action figure, villain in town called Mr. Freeze, and he's robbing the museum because he thinks that diamonds are literally ice or something. So Batman and Robin have a long-ass fight with an evil hockey team in which nothing interesting happens, and Arnold yells some puns, and then they get blasted into space in a rocket, and then they sky surf back down to Earth, and then Mr. Freeze beats them and escapes with a diamond. Meanwhile, in Brazil, this lady scientist is trying to make predatory plants, and this man scientist is trying to make super soldiers. And then he tries to kill her, but he accidentally turns her into poison ivy, and then she kills him and takes a super soldier, Bane, and goes to Gotham somehow, because she probably has a passport, but Bane for sure doesn't. And also, Alfred is sick, and also, Alfred has a niece, Barbara, that comes to live with them. And also, Barbara's into illegal motorcycle street racing and judo, of course.
Yep.
So Ivy shows up at this charity ball and tries to seduce Batman and Robin. But Mr. Freeze shows up, leading to another long-ass, boring-ass fight and the dumbest car chase in the history of the world. And Freeze gets caught off camera somehow. Okay, so Alfred gets sicker. Barbara finds the Batcave. Ivy breaks Freeze out of jail. Batman and Robin have drama. And then they go to Ivy's lair, and they have a plan to catch her, but they execute it so ineptly that Batgirl has to come and save them. And then Batman and Robin meet Batgirl, who has to explain to the world's greatest detective that she's actually the orphan that's been living in his house for weeks. And then all three of them go to the observatory to fight Mr. Freeze, who has frozen the city, and once again the action sequence takes Batman forever to finish, even though there is no tension and it's all super cheesy, and they use the same gag of people falling a great height and then shooting a batarang and saving themselves somehow, like 3 times in a row. And in the end, they beat Mr. Freeze, but he helps cure Alfred, so they lock him up with Poison Ivy so he can murder her, I guess. And then they all decide to become a Bat family, and it's cutesy and very, very, very dumb.
You have 2 seconds left. Do you have anything else to add?
You forgot Julie.
I didn't
You
forget
forgot,
her.
You didn't.
She wasn't
You didn't say
important.
anything about the pheromones and how she used the pheromones to make them feel the love for her.
Rubber lips.
Yeah, a lot of this movie is contingent on Batman and Robin fighting about who's hornier, and they don't know why.
Yeah.
No, it's about
Yeah.
trust. It's about trust, okay?
And also, they don't really that's another thing that they don't. The biggest flaw of this movie is that they have so many plots that they're juggling, and they're all like B plots, and none of them get attention. Like Barbara Wilson, or whatever the fuck her name is just kind of thrown in there. She shows up, and then she has this whole she has a whole arc that could be a movie in itself, but it's barely on screen at all in this entire thing. It's just
The motorcycle street race is like a really good sequence. Maybe one of my favorite sequences in the movie.
Because it begins with Coolio.
Yeah,
Because it
and
has
Double
cat in
beat though from Forever. It's like they're trying to do the same thing that they did with Robin.
yeah.
So
they-
that's why I agreed with Matt much earlier when he said when it really ran together for me because I was like, where are the Flying Graysons? Isn't that part of this movie? No.
no.
Where's the motorcycle and the guys with the neon face? Oh, there they are. Oh, different neon face guys.
Yes,
Okay.
a whole
okay.
different Dayglow blacklight themed gang in this one.
They both have to like motorcycles. That's their connection.
Yeah, I think structurally this movie is very similar to Batman Forever. It's like they use that movie as a blueprint to make this one. Right down to what Harris said, that at the end, like the final like harrowing sequence is that they're falling and like who's gonna catch who and how are they gonna save each other? Of course, with the what are they called?
I'm trying to think. Did they do that
Claw,
in
Bat Claw.
Did
Or,
they
I
they
don't
didn't do that in
Yeah.
Batman Returns, which means that's the only movie of this entire franchise that didn't have a falling off a high place and using some kind of mechanism to save yourself. Because they did it multiple times in the last one, and they did it in the first one too.
That's why Batman Returns is like the most interesting one of all of these movies.
Because they don't fall off a building in it.
Yeah.
But it was also very Superman because Dick was like, "I've got you," and she's like, "No, I've got you," and it was like very Superman and Lois when he's like, "I've got you," and she's like, "You got me. Who's got you?" And I was like, okay, that's kind of cute. I see something there. And then they're like, this movie sucks so bad, we're canceling the Superman movie. Nice try.
Yeah, this is the only movie bad enough to get other franchises canceled.
Yeah.
Speaking of stealing jokes, they also steal directly the "chicks dig the car" line from the last one. Like that's one of the first jokes in this movie, and it's it's like
the literal first line is, "I want a car," and it totally reminded me of Caddyshack when the like super rich guy's like grandson is like, oh, "Okay, I want a burger, I want a hot dog, I want a this." He's all moping. He's like, "You have nothing and like it." And I was like, Batman, tell me he's gonna have nothing and like it. That didn't happen.
But like this movie starts off with the main titles like flying at your face, which the previous movie did.
Yep.
Then it starts in the Batcave. There's some funny.
That's just a Warner Brothers issue. What's up with that? Harry
banter.
Potter?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They drive. They have this epic, 15-minute long sequence with the main villain of the movie. I'm trying to think of more comparisons between the previous. I'm willing to bet it's the exact same.
they also
series
have
of
the
events.
the suiting up thing with like extreme nipple and
Oh,
butt
yeah, I
close-ups,
forgot about that.
which are so much more egregious in this one that now I feel like they're just trolling us. They're just like, oh,
Yeah, they
we
are.
got a little criticism for this last time. Well, let's see how much butt close-up we can add.
They put nipples on Freeze's freeze suit. And they weren't technically nipples, but they were little circles. And I was like,
Icicles, if you will.
Well, we don't know that. We don't know
But
that that's not
why?
how the lasers operate. We don't know that that's not a focusing disc for the laser in some way.
Yeah, I mean, it's odd.
The
because
laser that makes cold.
as a man, I don't even need the nipples that I do have. I certainly don't need them represented on the outside of my clothing somehow. But I don't know.
Look,
it's offensive to me.
Yeah.
everybody knows that lasers make cold and eat diamonds.
Well, the whole thing about how he needs like 2 big diamonds to freeze the city to hold him hostage, so they'll give me billions of dollars to fund my research. And I was like, why don't you just steal a bunch of money?
He's
Like,
clearly-
what is this whole?
Yeah, there's
like,
a lot of steps
what,
here.
Sell the diamonds.
I'm gonna steal.
What's
he's stealing
happening
the
here?
diamonds to steal the money to buy more diamonds.
I was like, sir, you're scary. Your makeup is flawless and impeccable. If you came up to me, I'd do whatever you'd say. But too many steps. I'm like, aren't you a scientist? What's happening here?
But if he's exposed to like room temperature, he immediately shuts down and starts dying. Yet he wants to smoke a cigar. What does it mean? There's so many questions.
It's called machismo, okay?
Yeah, right.
yeah, it's called Mr. Freeze Ain't a Bitch. Okay. We've talked a lot about Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy, but we haven't mentioned that there's a new Batman in this movie. How do we feel about George Clooney?
He's got good Bruce Wayne voice. You know what I mean?
I think he's
like,
pretty
he
good,
sounds
actually.
Like Bruce Wayne.
Well, this isn't exactly a revelation that George Clooney is very handsome and charismatic, and it's fun to watch him in even bad movies. Like this is kind of he built a lot of the early part of his career on being pretty good in stuff that wasn't that great. So,
Well, this movie killed a lot of people's careers, but it actually launched George Clooney's career. This is like the starting point for him.
You know what
Which is pretty crazy.
You know what he does is like, you know how what's that movie? Ocean's 14, the second Ocean's movie.
12.
yes,
Yeah, Ocean's 12. Where we see him at like his own house in Lake Como, even though it's not. We don't know that it's not his character's house. It's his house, George Clooney's house. But you see him and he's like kind of being cool and stuff like that, and like you can see him and like it costs a lot of money to like buy a house on a lake in Italy. And like, so that George Clooney's a rich guy, and you still find him like charming. So when he's Bruce Wayne, he's able to play like a guy who's super rich, who you don't just kind of inherently resent him for being like too rich. You know what I mean?
It's the turtleneck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Befriend him. He'll buy me a yacht.
yeah,
But
exactly.
I also
The one consistent thing that I notice about all 4 of these movies is that Bruce Wayne is a fan of the turtleneck. And I think the turtleneck is
Ditto.
really a symbol of his character. He's hiding something. He's hiding
Hickeys.
the neck that he's afraid to show the world.
Yeah.
I had like a
Lot of
turtleneck
hickeys.
phase when I was like probably around 10 10 years old, I had like a turtleneck phase. I had like a few different colors of turtleneck. I always wanted to wear them.
Did you wear a chain though when you wore a turtleneck?
I should have.
Did you ever wear a mock turtleneck that was just like the collar part and you just press it down underneath your shirt when it was like too warm to layer a
What
shirt
about a
over?
dickie?
Yeah. Did you ever wear a dickie?
I don't know. I should have. Like I want.
You
like
still should.
I want to. I want to like in the future in my life as I grow older. I want to go through another turtleneck phase. You
Me
know?
too. Actually, I have one. I think turtlenecks are fantastic.
I always think of the Mitch Hedberg joke though. It's like wearing a backpack and a turtleneck is like having a really weak midget choke you all day.
I just feel like they're unflattering unless you've got like a pretty good physique, because if you just wear the turtleneck and you're not kind of broader in the chest and shoulder area than you are, even if you're like if you're not broader up top than you are in the midsection, then it's just kind of like a kind of it accentuates all the dumpiness even more than a
Aren't you
t-shirt
like
does.
6'7"?
Yeah,
So you would rock a turtleneck though.
I could,
Yeah.
but I shouldn't.
I think you should.
I need
Next
more-
time I see you on Zoom, I want
know
you
what?
to wear a fucking turtleneck.
You're imbuing me with the confidence to go and live my turtleneck
Wear
dream,
that
Chandler.
turtleneck.
Thank you. I might just take you.
Everybody wear a turtleneck. No.
Honestly, I find what Chandler is doing healthier than you body shaming hypothetical people, which is what you were kind of doing before.
Yeah, I mean,
that,
no,
so-
Colin, it wasn't hypothetical people. I was kind of pointing that directly at you.
He was like, please don't go.
You were the one that was like toying with this turtleneck idea, and I'm just, as your friend, just trying to talk you down off that ledge and be like, "Don't do it, man. You will regret this. Like, you'll see a picture of yourself from this second turtleneck phase years from now, and be like, why didn't somebody intervene?"
I want everyone who's listening to this and wearing a turtleneck to take a picture of yourself and then send it to me. Because I want to see it. And I want to tell you how beautiful you are.
Rate my neck.
No, you can't see it.
Nice.
What are we talking about? Batman and Robin?
George Clooney.
Yeah, we're talking about George Clooney and how damn hunky he is. You know, I do think, like, so here's whose careers it didn't kill, right? It didn't kill Arnold's. I mean, Arnold's was already like, you know, phasing himself out, and he got more hurt by like his heart surgery that kept him out of action for a while.
Oh, that's right.
But
yeah.
didn't kill Clooney's, didn't kill Uma Thurman's. Are we just talking about like Chris O'Donnell and Alicia Silverstone?
I would say Chris O'Donnell, Alicia Silverstone, and Joel Schumacher never really recovered from this.
Did he never really recover, or did, like, we talked about this a little bit on the last podcast, but like, wasn't it
He
kind
had
of
a few movies,
he
but
decided
like
to make different
he was
movies.
nowhere as what?
Like, he just was kind of pursuing different projects, you know? Like, wasn't he just wanting to make smaller stuff? Because I always assumed it killed his
guess.
career until our last podcast, when we got some inside info that maybe he just wasn't interested in doing big movies after this, which that's kind of suicided his career, but didn't kill it.
I would say his reputation was tarnished, forever
Certainly.
tarnished, and he was always known as sort of the guy who put nipples on Batman.
Well, you can't make one of the worst movies ever and not have kind of a little bit of tarnish. But, you know, I think people forgive him in the same way people forgive Robert Altman for making Popeye. It's, you know, it's a dark spot.
I think now people do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, like 20 years later.
I mean, he did
you
make
know,
two
it took-
bad
it took a
Batman
long
movies,
time.
but, you know, this one was just super bad.
Oh,
Which
I
is
like
a great
how-
movie.
I like how Mr. Freeze's hideout is like an abandoned snow cone factory or something.
Yeah.
You guys see that?
yeah, it's
With
like an
the
ice
snowman?
cream place or something. I think it's an ice
Yeah, it was
cream.
like a snow cone ice cream factory or something.
It's like he murdered Ben and Jerry and he just fucking took
Yeah.
over.
But again, this plays into our thing we were talking about last time, how Gotham City has all these like abandoned
Yeah.
locations, you know? And like I feel like the cops after a while would start to figure out like where bad guys were hanging out based on like whatever their aesthetic was, just like whatever the corresponding like abandoned factory was, you know? If it's an abandoned like zoo, there's the penguin, you know? If it's an abandoned haunted hayride,
Carnival.
you can bet the scarecrow is there.
Exactly, yeah. If it's an abandoned sand quarry, well, it's got to be the Sandman.
Yeah.
Abandoned.
Well, then you got to start doing the police work. If you find the abandoned place and like see what its aesthetic and its motif is, and you see if you can predict the next supervillain
Yeah, exactly.
from that.
Maybe we should do something about these abandoned buildings in this city, boss. Quiet, you.
Well, I also think in the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons, Batman and Scooby-Doo existed in the same universe, and I think that makes perfect sense because Scooby-Doo was also always going to abandoned carnivals and abandoned, haunted
Also-
houses and whatever.
You're forgetting that the Globetrotters are part of that.
Yeah, well, the Globetrotters, they only play to packed houses, so nothing's abandoned for the Globetrotters, Colin. But
The Globetrotters went to the abandoned places with Scooby and the Batman.
yeah, but only
Okay,
when they
well,
were
the real
lost
villain
because they were
here
on their way to
is capitalism.
Oh, okay.
yeah, they're the
Agreed.
supervillain of this series is
Just putting everything out of business, okay?
yeah.
Fucking Washington Generals.
Washington Generals passing all those laws, putting all our factories out of work.
It's funny because the name of the team that the Globetrotters play against is
Yes,
also the
that's-
Washington.
Well,
yeah, okay.
there's nothing
I
better than
shouldn't have explained
explaining.
it. Fuck.
There's nothing better than explaining
Oh
the
my
joke
God.
to really, really kill it. That's,
I thought Matt didn't
Colin's
get
like,
it.
this joke has layers, okay?
yeah,
let me peel them back for you.
let me just make
Oh,
it clear.
Shrek. Oh, no.
Speaking of jokes, I feel like this, especially early on, like the beginning is just an extended 15-minute action sequence, but it's just peppered with like somebody should have explained to these people that not every line has to be an unfunny joke. Like some dialogue can be serious or even funny, but like not every line has to be like a bad joke because it's just constant. It's a constant barrage of like tongue-in-cheek lines that really don't quite work.
It's almost like Colin wrote the script for this movie.
Yeah.
I like Mr. Freeze's lines.
When he says,
Honestly,
I'm
I
sure
love
you
all
do.
his ice puns.
when he says the
Yeah.
Iceman cometh, is that a reference to him jizzing ice everywhere with his gun or something? That's like, I thought that was in poor taste for a kid's movie.
They don't know. It's fine. You
Um,
ever watch Ren and Stimpy? The kids don't know what the fuck's happening.
I feel like that was targeted at a much higher age demographic than this movie.
There was one really sexual line in this movie. Oh, I remember. Robin says something to Poison Ivy. He asked her a question. I can't remember what it was, and her answer is "slippery when wet."
oh
Oh
yeah.
my god, yes. Oh.
He says something about a sign and like that's like the sign, like an actual sign, like a physical.
Yeah,
thing.
And
yeah.
she
Like,
also
it's
talks about people tending her garden and refers to it as a honey pot and all these other things that I was like, that's a little
She's so
for a movie that's
horny.
clearly aimed at children. That was like more objectionable. At least Batman Returns, for all its failings at courting a young demographic, wasn't really targeting a young demographic. This is a kids movie that's got a lot of double entendre in it.
Okay, but Poison Ivy is inherently like a horny bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Like no matter where you see her, I'm like horny.
But is she though? Because she seems horny, but then she really wants to murder people before she ever gets any action.
Why are the two mutually exclusive?
Is this not the same emotion, basically?
Do these not intersect?
Yeah. I mean, for praying mantises, I think.
Hello, Mother Nature.
My other big beef with this movie is that they're trying so hard to make these two villains, like different plans, work together as one, when inherently, like a bad guy who's all about freezing everything, and then a bad guy who wants to overgrow the earth with plants.
Who needs
The
sunlight?
idea is what they
Who
don't
needs
work
sunlight.
together.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
needs not
it's
to be
sunlight,
sunlight,
frozen.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think the absolute worst part of the whole vibe we're talking about is the prop they give her to hold. When he's holding the snow globe, she's holding one of her plants that's going to take over, like the snake plant, and it's just like not a good prop. Like it looks like a bad puppet, and it just doesn't look real or lifelike or
Oh, as
or
opposed to
anything.
the rest of this movie that was totally nailing realism and, verisimilitude. I mean, that's my biggest complaint with this movie. It's not anything about the stupid plot or the stupid puns or any of the other shit. It's that all the wire work is so fucking bad. Like every time somebody jumps in the air, it looks like they're just swinging on a digitally erased cable. And digitally erasing the cable is the only digital effects stuff that isn't total shit. And the production design in this movie looks totally phony. I know they're leaning into the cartoon element, but that's no excuse for just like wobbly rubber icicles and Robin swinging around like, just in defiance of any kind of even cartoon physics. It's just a shitty job. It's shitty execution of dumb ideas, which just compounds it. Even if you're targeting children, at least like nail it,
I thought Mr. Freeze's lair has good production design. I don't like the wobbly icicles, but that particular interior doesn't have a lot of that.
I don't know. No,
I think-
Did you
I
see
think-
the shiny vinyl flooring? I was like, it's not even ice. They're pretending this is ice. Like, the museum was better than this.
At the end, I'm pretty sure it's just like plastic wrap over people. Like, what's that called?
Saran.
Yeah.
Saran wrap.
They just saran wrapped everybody.
Which reminds me of my idea for a band of like people made out of saran wrap called
no.
Saran.
No.
Oh, wait! If
What do
you
you mean?
Wind
No.
up was so long, and we still knew.
wait, if you have like a rapper doing some rap breaks in that band, it can be saran rap.
Oh God.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't expect this from you, Harris.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You know what? One of you should have foiled my plans.
Now that worked.
Okay.
All right, that's a wrap.
Oh, this is going so well. Yeah,
That whole time I was trying to work out a funny joke, like using the name Susan Sarandon.
See, that's the kind of
I got
thing that
nothing.
Colin would have birdwalked right into the ground. But you
Yeah.
did a good job of just picking your moment and going for the low-hanging fruit there. Yeah, no, it's just all the things I'm talking about, though, are like the CGI doors surfing incorporates
God.
all of the stuff they do poorly so perfectly.
Yeah.
It's like all like bad VFX, bad wire work, bad production, like just a dumb idea, just poorly executed. Like the VFX are like Power Rangers level.
Yeah.
Or when they put the Bane mask on the skinny little guy and it's already got like the vein lines in it. It's like, just get us. You can't build a second mask. I know you're targeting stupid kids, but like even they might catch on to the fact that he shouldn't have like pre-veiny head before he's even while the mask is still loose.
I didn't
on
notice that it already had the veins on it. But
I
that's
didn't
funny.
either.
Well, that whole room, that like the generic mad scientist room with the like evil NATO guys or whatever. Like,
Yeah, I love that.
That was
Well, I was
just
like, who's
so
funding this in the
ridiculous.
first place? Why is Wayne Enterprises
Yeah.
funding this?
The
What-
Ununited Nations, and it's the exact same group from what's the Leslie,
Naked Gun?
Naked
Yeah.
Gun,
Yeah.
two and a half.
Yeah.
Like Idi Amin is up there.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
like Fidel Castro.
Yeah, it's like
I've been
it's like
swimming
an-
in raw sewage. I love it.
I don't like Poison Ivy's. Like, it looks like someone just took the lettuce off of their Wendy's cheeseburger and just like put it on her eyes, like on her eyebrows.
Yeah.
I love it. Come on. That's like one thing where I'm like, okay, if we're putting a bunch of rubber on people's faces, she should also get rubber.
Yeah.
Her more than anyone, like her costume looks like a Halloween costume.
I liked her costumes except for the very last one where her hair
The
is
last
kind of
one
crazy
was
and her
cheap
top,
looking.
She's wearing the red top. I liked all the other
When
ones.
she's when she takes off her gorilla suit,
yeah.
I think that was
the
that
gorilla
one-
suit.
that should have
yeah.
been her like finale, quote unquote.
Yeah, that one was good.
Costume.
But that one to me looks like a Halloween costume. You
but
guys
like a
don't
really
think
good
that?
one.
Yeah.
I mean, all this stuff looks like Halloween costumes.
Yeah, all of it. And how they got like a new suit, like, oh, now that we're like best friends and we trust each other, everyone's getting a new suit and it's gonna have icy tones because we're fighting Mr.
Oh my God,
Freeze.
yes. Even the girl who
Like,
just
Jesus
joined our
Christ.
team has like multiple
She
suits
gets
already.
2 outfits in this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Hey.
Did you notice that like she has like a helmet to wear when she's riding the motorcycle
Right.
and then takes it off? Yeah.
That lets her hair flow.
I have a big question about that because again, like that line in the beginning. Okay, Mr. Freeze just showed up in town. So while Alfred was on his deathbed, he built a fan boat sled with Robin specific design, a fucking Batjet sled, and an extra motorcycle for his niece who just showed up with all extra suits for all of them. like in his spare time on his deathbed.
Yeah, he wasn't that sick.
In
He
stage
was
one,
faking it.
McGregor.
Well, stage 1 McGregor, actually, one of the symptoms of stage 1 McGregor is compulsive sewing and auto mechanics. That's like, you can't stop. That's actually how it breaks you down, is it wears you down because you're working so hard. You're like, I got to build like 3 more cars tonight.
It's actually just crack.
But like,
Yeah.
what?
Mc-
Why?
McGregor syndrome is just a code name for being cracked out of your mind.
Just you're on speed,
I'm on
okay?
so much fucking meth right now. I mean, I'm sorry, McGregor syndrome.
I haven't slept in days.
Hey, you got some McGregor syndrome? Stage 1? Stage 1 only.
Yeah.
But like, why? If he knew that the whole city would freeze over because he somehow knew that Mr. Freeze existed and that was his plan, why would there need to be a rocket bat sled, but also a fan boat style Robin sled? Is Robin skilled with fan boats specifically? Did he have a time when the circus was going through Louisiana and he was
Right.
just on the bayou a lot? Is that what's happening here?
You see,
I don't
that
understand.
doesn't bother me
Deleted
as much
scene.
because it's like, that feels very comic booky to me, where it's like you have a vehicle for every occasion. So
Yeah.
it just feels more like he's not like, Alfred's just prepared because Alfred's the best.
Yeah, he's
okay?
probably
like,
didn't-
that's
yeah,
how. That's
okay.
where my
He didn't
my
do this
mind
stuff on his
goes.
deathbed. He just has like they've got
From the
unlimited
jump.
resources. He just spends all his spare time like he's like, I guess this one should be like repellent to heat rays, and this one should be a bat hot air balloon. You never know when you'll
Right.
need that. And just in case a hot air balloon isn't enough, I'm gonna make a bat zeppelin. Why the fuck not? I got all the money.
Exactly.
We've got this giant cave to keep everything in.
Yeah, exactly. Also, do they ever adopt any orphans who aren't into martial arts and like extreme sports and shit? Like, I want to watch that show where Alfred's teenage nephew Chet, who's like a little overweight and he really loves Fortnite, and he's just always sort of chilling on the couch while everyone else mysteriously comes and goes. Like, there's emergencies, and Chet's just like, "Hey, where were you guys last night? I got up for a glass of water and the whole place was fucking empty."
No, the most unbelievable thing to me was Alfred is like 100 years old and his niece is like 17, and not even like from his brother, who, as everyone knows, sperm can just be
Yeah.
whenever. But his sister, I'm like, what's happening?
He's got a sister that's like
What
30
kind of
years younger
uterus
than-
do you
than him.
have?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, when I watched it today, it kind of seems like he's got like a crush on his sister. And why? What's with the nickname Peg? I mean, I think Harris is going to run with that too far. I was a little
Your
afraid of
brain.
even bringing it up.
Where are you going?
Also,
Get back on track, sir.
also,
Did you guys read about who that actress is in that photo?
she's
No.
the old lady from
Some
Titanic.
Star.
She's the old lady from Titanic,
Oh.
That's even weirder.
Yeah.
which also came out the same year this movie came out.
That is, what's
Well, so the way to make this movie better, I guess, was more of her. They didn't include her enough. This could have been a multiple Oscar winner.
They had big red diamonds in this movie
Yeah.
too. You know, she could have come back for her precious or whatever.
Yeah.
Precious.
Her precious.
That's why she looked like that at the other Titanic. She really would look more like Kate Winslet, except that she had like a Gollum syndrome.
Gollum syndrome, McGregor syndrome. We got a lot of syndromes going on here.
Yeah.
the Pennyworths are fucked.
Yeah.
Alfred and Wilfred, his brother Wilfred.
Which we just dropped the plot line of him looking for his long lost brother as soon as that's
Yeah,
it's like, hey, good news, I'm
Yeah.
gonna live, so fuck my brother. I don't care where he is.
He sucks anyway.
Also, why is your niece from England Alicia Silverstone? Like, I
Yeah,
just don't. I don't
where's
see
your
her.
accent? What's happening?
I think that was
Huh?
the right choice. I'm gonna go ahead and defend that. I think that was the right choice.
I think if-
she
make her
brought a lot to the
school
role.
in like Massachusetts or something,
like Southern
some
California or
rich ass
something, yeah.
place somewhere else.
Although I think
England?
her trying to do an English accent might have made this like up the comedy on this just a little bit, and might have pushed it into
You know,
like the.
it's not like she could do anything wrong. I mean, she's Alicia Silverstone.
I guess not for you.
Peak of her career. I mean, what are we
Oh,
gonna
actually,
say?
I read something so sad that they had to cut some of her scenes because she had gained weight and couldn't fit in the
Oh,
bat suit, and then
sucks.
she got fucking trashed for
Yeah,
being
which
too
is
heavy.
which is awful because first of all, she's still very cute in this movie. I don't like. I
Yes.
think she looks fine, but also she was like 18 and had been, you know,
It's
a child like a
horrifying.
child star since she was like 14. She'd been in movies, so it's kind of like, I don't know. Now we're much more sensitive, I think, to this kind of bullying, and I think that shit.
Yeah.
would happen now, but there'd be a swift backlash and a lot of people supporting her. But it is very sad that this is like she had to kind of go through this at a time when she was getting shit from people over this ridiculous nothing issue, and she wasn't getting like as much support. Although apparently Schumacher was very adamant about, you know, calling people out and saying this isn't cool, and you know, she was fine.
He did it in a very dad way, though. He was like, so what? She wants to eat pizza. So he's basically like, yeah,
Right.
she's fat.
Yeah,
so
she's
what?
fat, and I
it was
don't
like,
care.
Okay,
I like fat Batgirl.
Thank you, but also like, stop. It was very like dad of him.
If only she had known the hold she had over young Colin Shaw.
Also, more Batgirl's not going to save this movie, folks.
Yeah.
Why are
What
we
do you
focusing
mean?
on this?
You're wrong, Chandler.
Oh, right. I apologize. Ooh.
I keep trying to say it, but I love that fax machines on elephants joke she gets. Really good stuff.
That is a
Really?
I
very
love that
Colin
Jesse the
joke.
Body Ventura is in this movie.
Yep, in like a tiny forgettable part.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out. So speaking of professional wrestlers that are in this movie, what is the point of hiring this guy Jeep Swenson, who plays Bane, who has this absurd physique, to play Bane, if you are then going to cover his body with so much makeup and tacky costuming, even the wrist guard things, which you would normally use to cover up a muscle suit? Like, if you've got a guy who actually, those are his real muscles, that's his real body. I always thought this was a bad muscle suit. And then I realized that it's his real body, and I'm like, why would you make his real body look so fake if you're going to cast that guy? Like, make a good-looking muscle suit, or show off the fact that it's a real dude in this thing. But I guess it doesn't go with the over-the-top cartooniness of it. But I just thought it was kind of shitty and stupid.
Everyone got a lot of costumery, okay? A lot.
Mm-hmm.
Also, his name is Jeep.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Why does he have lines at all, though? His lines are so bad. Just like murmuring. Yeah. Murmuring one word from the dialogue that's already been said. Come
Yeah.
on.
And not even a keyword. Like, he'll just say, like, any word.
Random,
And it's
yeah,
never
totally
funny
random.
or-
Way.
Yeah.
He's like, and all he does is redecorate.
Yeah.
Fucking hideout. That's it.
But I have to say, like, for a guy who's like an inarticulate muscle zombie, he actually is like a pretty functional hideout builder, because he does like,
Oh, yeah.
like he like stomps the floor and tears open water pipes and shit like that. But like then she goes, oh, and make this, you know, do a lot more decorations, and then she leaves and she comes back, and he kind of has spruced the place up quite a bit, you know. So I don't know, maybe.
And did he get a thank you?
Yeah, no, he doesn't get any appreciation.
Also, he placed those.
Unionized Bane.
He also placed those icicle bombs perfectly so that the telescope would fall out of the observatory without destroying the observatory itself.
Yes, remarkably
Brilliant.
competent villain for this movie, where I think most of them aren't that competent. He does a good job, and his only weakness is that his whole source of power are these weak rubber tubes that are coming out of his head. You know, it's like
That's the
Kinda
thing I hate
make
about
him
this
metal.
movie more than anything, is when they kick that tube out of his head, and like it looks like a bogus take. Like it looks like maybe their feet are supposed to like grab the tube from either side and pull it out, but they kind of miss, and the tube like still falls out easily.
Yeah.
It just looks so bad. I just wish they did another take,
I mean,
or like
this is exactly what I'm talking about like just shitty execution on things. I couldn't believe how many times a punch or kick didn't land, like clearly was feet away from the person's face, and the stuntman still went flipping over backwards. And once again, I know it's about kids. I know kids don't really care about that stuff that much, but seriously, like you should, just as professional filmmakers with a huge budget to work with, don't use the bad takes where you just blew it, you know? Like these stunt people have to get work later, so don't use their worst takes of stuff.
this movie also unabashedly like hangs on a shot where it's like clearly a stuntman, and it's like not the main person, and you could see like half of Poison Ivy's scenes are another woman, and you could clearly tell.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys spotted that.
Also, with the Bane thing, I want to see a lot more spew coming out of that tube when it's kicked off of his head. I didn't get enough spew.
A fountain
on
of
that one.
spew.
Yeah.
I think I'm set on the spew. I was ready to move on.
Yeah.
Matt, you got any
They got
notes on
their
that
moment.
spew?
Colin just wants everything covered in spew. We've had this conversation before, and it's an unpleasant side
Why?
of him.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. The man loves a mess.
Oh, boy.
So Elle McPherson is in this movie.
She is,
Who is
yeah.
that?
Julia
She's
Gulia.
Julie Madison.
Oh, Julia Gulia. Yeah, what is that whole storyline? What do they do on their dates that they've been dating for a year? And she doesn't know anything about the fact that he's obviously Batman.
Yeah, it took every other girl he's ever been in cahoots with like 3 days to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. She is the dumbest Bruce Wayne love interest because they've been going out for a year, and every other woman he's ever met knew immediately. It was like, oh yeah, you're Batman, right?
Oh, sorry, Julie. I suddenly have to leave our date yet
Yeah.
again. Why, Bruce?
Isn't their date in Wayne Manor like the smallest table in Wayne Manor put
Yes,
as close
thank
to the
you.
fireplace
It's
as
so
possible?
awkward. That's horrifying.
I think you would get suspicious when every single date that he took you on had to have a skylight involved somehow. like I just can't.
We have to
can't
be
sit
sitting near a
anywhere-
window.
Yeah, I can't sit anywhere without an open roof area. So like Bruce, it's December. It's fucking freezing out. Yeah, I'm sorry. No, we've got to eat outside on the patio.
But it's like the way she plays the whole scene is like she has no conflict about this, no suspicions about this. She is like a happy girlfriend and ready to take the next step. And it's like, what kind of woman is this that like she's like the whatever this relationship is, she's rolling with it like really well, and it's fulfilling.
How does this even play into his emotional journey? Like, she doesn't factor in. There's no fucking point. This is not a movie about him being ready to like settle down.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently this movie is about him like trusting Robin. She has nothing to do with it. I'm so tired of like throwing all these characters in.
Yeah, he doesn't have an emotional journey in this.
She's obviously just there for the press. So why does she have a scene where they're alone together? Like it's all about the media presence where he has to have like a girlfriend at his side.
I'd rather see like a scene of him like paying her off, like thanks for being my fake girlfriend again,
Yeah.
or whatever.
He's a sugar daddy.
Well, she was supposed to die apparently.
Oh.
And then Joel Schumacher decided he wanted to bring her back for the next one he was going to direct, but yeah.
Okay, then we would have seen the emotional journey.
Also, speaking of underused beautiful women, Vivica A. Fox in this movie as
Oh, yeah.
Miss B. Haven, Mr. Freeze's sidekick.
That
woman.
was her name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she is
Oh,
like
she deserves so much
she's
better.
almost
She deserves
recognizable,
so much
unrecognizable.
better.
She's so young in this and so costumed up. I didn't even catch it when I first saw her.
I didn't realize that was her either, but I was like, "What are you doing there, honey? No, leave."
Yeah.
She really likes Mr. Freeze for no good reason whatsoever.
She literally said, "You treat me like shit, but I can't quit you." And I was like, "Quit him. Quit him now."
You're in like a bikini in a fucking refrigerator.
Yeah. And still trying to get that frozen D.
Colin, what are your thoughts on the different gang costumes in this movie? Do you remember like the motorcycle racing scene?
The motorcycle racing scene is the best. The Turkish bath guys, they're a little over the top, but I mean, it added something.
I'm sorry, a little.
You've got the Clockwork Orange guys. Did you see
yeah.
the Clockwork Orange guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how like in the motorcycle society there are gangs, and they're street gangs, but they have very, very uniform costumes that they wear to differentiate them. Like it's not like like there's the Crips and the Bloods. Like we either have a red thing or a blue thing. But this is like, no, we're in the Clockwork Orange gang. We have suspenders, pants, the same shirts, these hats, the same makeup. Like when we all do this, and we're a street gang. And wigs.
It's very much like the Warriors, except with like more blacklight consciousness about how you costume yourself.
Even the Warriors had more like uniqueness to each individual member of the gang. Like these gangs are in like uniforms.
Well, I mean, the Warriors had the guys.
They have
in
a group text.
The baseball
and
stars and the and the main characters are all in the same red leather jackets. But the main characters had like the Indian guy with the headdress and the
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There literally was a gang that was called, I call them the Whigs, like the Whig Party, the political party.
Yeah.
Like they had like the old timey like white wigs. Did you see those guys?
What was the gang that Nicky Cat was in? The lead bike racer guy.
I've seen that guy before, and I could not figure out what I know him from.
He's from stuff. He's been in a lot of things.
If only there was a website.
Yeah.
That told
Apparently
us.
Corey Haim is in this scene too.
Yeah, I didn't see.
Yeah.
I didn't see Corey Haim, but I did catch the Nicky Cat thing. Hang on a second. I'll tell you what Nicky Cat is in. Actually, his his cameo isn't even listed in the IMDb credits. You have to like dig deep for it. But let's
I
talk
don't even
about
know
the
who
other.
Nicky Cat is.
Well, that's what I'm going to tell you. Movies that he's in, and maybe you'll remember.
That is the actor's name?
Yes.
Should we play top 4?
With Nicky Cat, yeah. If you have ever seen the Steven Soderbergh movie The Limey, which is Steven Soderbergh's best movie, he's one of the goon guys that he's the younger of the two goons that are tracking them down in that movie.
Okay.
But that's the
Chandler's shaking her head no, if anyone is wondering.
I haven't seen it either.
Don't out me.
only.
Sorry.
It's good though. Okay. The bad news is I can't find Nicky Cat to click on him and figure out what he's in. But the good news is we can talk about something else. Let's talk about the Coolio cameo. I don't buy for a second that like the rumor is that they were setting Coolio up to play Dr. Whatever his name is, the Scarecrow in the
Crane.
sequel. Yeah.
Crane.
But if they were doing that, why would they give him like a 6-second cameo where he's a banker for illegal motorcycle racing? Like it doesn't make any
yeah, it
sense.
doesn't
Everyone
add
has
up.
a side hustle.
I
Villains
guess.
don't make
Yes.
that much money.
Well,
I don't make that much as a doctor.
Yeah.
Typically before he becomes Scarecrow, he does experiments on people where he like makes them afraid. And like this is definitely some kind of adrenaline junkie like community, so you could
Holy shit, I track that. I track that.
Yeah, you could finagle
makes
it
sense.
into the script like pretty
That
easily.
makes
It's like
sense.
these people are living on the edge, riding motorcycles wherever.
Nice
I've
job,
set up
Colin.
a whole crazy, scary
Yes.
racetrack for
All
them,
right.
and they don't care. They don't give a fudge.
Okay, good job, Colin. I
Sorry.
think you did it. I
Yeah.
think you convinced me. I'll buy that. All right, Nicky
All right.
Cat was in. Let's see.
That's exactly how Coolio talks. Also.
Yeah, that is a good. It was a
Yeah,
good
man,
Coolio
I'm
impression.
Coolio.
He was in Boiler Room. If you've ever seen that, the Ben Affleck movie, Vin Diesel movie. He was in Dazed and Confused. He had a pretty big role.
Oh,
in
I know. That's it. That's what I know. He gets in the fight with the other kid
Yep.
because he's friends with Ben Affleck, but he's an asshole. And Ben Affleck's also an asshole.
that. He was also one of the SWAT guys in The Dark Knight. In a random I think he was uncredited, but very small role. But he was definitely recognizable in that. Not a lot else. I don't know why he's a famous actor. Maybe he's not.
I knew him from Dazed and Confused. That's one I've seen a lot.
Well,
being from Texas and all. And
I'm glad we
watching
figured that out.
Watching films and such.
Yeah.
What does being from Texas have to do with it?
Dazed and Confused is a very Texas movie. It's like set in Texas. It's very
It's set in Texas?
Yeah.
The Moon Tower is in Texas.
That's how Matthew McConaughey got his
your,
start
your
acting.
accent really jumped out
Yeah.
in Texas.
That's right.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey would not be an actor that anybody knew, except that he was in Texas trying to be a filmmaker, and randomly ran into what's his name, Linklater in a bar, and started talking to him. And Linklater was like, "Hey, you want to do a little part in my movie?" And he was like, "Ah, sure. I never acted before, but you know." And then did a
he said,
small
"All right."
part, and it just kept on getting bigger and bigger until he was like kind of a main character, and then ended up being like the breakout star of that movie, even though it still was a pretty
Is
small
that really his very first role?
yeah, I don't think he was in anything else. And he was I think he was literally like in college to be like a screenwriter or a director or something like that. But yeah, very, very strange.
I got this idea for Lincoln car commercials. It's really gonna go places.
No.
Yeah, perfect. Just question on, since we're talking about performance, what the fuck is Uma Thurman doing? Is she trying to do an old timey like Mae West accent,
Yes.
or because it really comes and goes, and then sometimes she's dropping her R's, which is the opposite of that accent.
She literally just said, I just wanted to be fun. I just wanted to do camp. That's it.
She's going.
I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad at her. I'm like, you're crazy, girl. You do it.
I think she's the cringiest performance in this movie for me.
But she also seems like she might be having the most fun.
Totally.
Yeah. Harris, here's my question. You're sitting in the dressing room mirror, and you've got 2 red cones on your head. and you're thinking about what you're about to do out there on the fucking stage. And what do you do?
Well, I'm going to do a little Princess Diana accent and then seamlessly segue into Mae West, and then maybe I'll close with, I get where you're coming from. Probably not her first concern.
I wonder if the cones ever fell off, like the red hair cones, or like she ever accidentally like hit somebody with them, or like I don't know.
like when Bane breaks into the Arkham Asylum like closet of like villain costumes.
Yeah.
And you see the Riddler and Two-Face costume sitting there. Although Two-Face died, why would his costume be there? But I'll let it slide.
They took the suit off his corpse and put it in Ark.
And also, it's not like they're subtly hidden or something. They are literally the front and center, the first things you see. I had to like look around to see what I was supposed to be seeing, which was the Mr. Freeze outfit, which is like off to the right. But they're like blasting us in this face with these two like, hey, remember last movie? Remember how bad that was? We're doing even worse now. And we know it.
The Mr. Freeze outfit, when it's not on him and lit up, just looks like shit. It just looks like plastic shit laying on the floor.
The helmet looks bad, like the whole time.
Yeah.
Unless he's holding his head in the right direction, the helmet looks really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I like when suddenly his mouth starts glowing, like halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Everything in this
Mr.
is
Freeze.
terrible.
Well, also at Arkham, they're paying a guard to just sit in that room. What is that about?
To sit in that room, like with his back to the only vulnerable outside entrance, so he can face the door, which is presumably behind layers of security. So, yeah.
He just wants health insurance.
I
you
hope
guys.
Mr. Bane can swim.
Head down.
I've got a. Did any of you catch or give any thought to Robin's line to Poison Ivy where he says, "Is your thumb the only part of you that's green?" Is he asking if her vagina is green or her nipples, or like what does that even mean? Does he want her vagina to be green? I don't understand. I'm very concerned about everything about that line.
He's attracted to her if her vagina is plant-like. It's pretty clear.
Well,
no, I don't know.
I don't know. That seems like a good bet. I don't know. I probably just assume. I also don't think that's something that you ask somebody before you've gotten to know them a little better, but a little familiar.
Yeah,
I feel like there's one too many scenes of Bruce Wayne and Robin fighting with one another, and they keep saying like, yeah, it's really weird that we both want to fuck her, and like we're both under some spell. I think something clearly happened, but I don't know why we're acting like this. But
you're just jealous.
Fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just jealous.
This is another one. This happens a lot in bad movies where like it's revealed that they discover that it's her pheromones or whatever, and I'm like, wait. Weren't supposed to know this all along because I didn't even understand why. Like
she's constantly like blowing
shit in their face constantly,
in front of people,
and they're acting irrational
like,
and
did you
weird,
not
and they don't put it together.
Which this brings me back to a question I had earlier. Is like, why is that gorilla suit when she's like taking it off so sexy? Because the gorilla suit by itself is pretty silly, and yet she really does something with it.
I don't know, man. Maybe ask your therapist, see what's going on.
I was more attracted to her with the costume on.
Look, I was just trying to, like start a conversation here. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take it into like a personal issues thing. It's just a funny gorilla suit, and then she.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings.
Well,
I do make jokes
it's just
sometimes.
my therapist told me she's really tired of that particular topic. No, I'm just kidding.
She said,
No, I won't
"Please
give you
stop
therapy in a
asking
gorilla
me."
suit, and I'd appreciate it if you'd stop pushing this on me.
First the puns, and now the gorilla suit fetish.
We need to
Colin,
start talking about
you need
boundaries.
to leave.
Colin, you need to start respecting the restraining order that I've had on you for many, many months now.
Well, it's Batman and Robin. It's a movie where things happen with a lot of neon lights and black lights. That's for sure.
I feel bad for the actor who plays Alfred because they finally gave him like a meaty role
Yeah.
and it's this movie.
Yeah.
This should have been called
it's
Batman
also,
and
like-
Alfred. That title would have made
Yeah.
more sense.
Yeah.
He says the line like, "I'm sad that I never got to join you guys,"
be a
and I just
series.
pictured Alfred like out there, catching bad guys with them.
I kind of
What
feel
would
like that
his
should have been the
costume be?
last shot where they're like silhouetted running into the frame. Is like Alfred just comes trucking
Alfred's
in
just, like,
behind
limping
him
behind.
in like his butler outfit.
Sometimes in the cartoons, Alfred does get to do stuff, and he's kind of like what's that thing? The Kingsman or something? What is that? You know what I'm talking about? They made movies.
The
of
movie,
it.
The Kingsman.
Yeah, he's kind of like that, I think.
Oh
He's a
yeah.
Kingsman. Okay.
Yeah, I never saw the
I'd
Kingsman
agree.
movie,
I'd
but
agree
I've
with
seen
that.
Alfred fight in a cartoon before.
I think it'd be cool if he was more like a Krang type hero. Like
Like a
it's
giant
just his
mech
head inside of like a suit or something, like a big like giant suit.
You're absolutely right. I think you've got like a really good idea there.
I don't get it. I'm just gonna say for the record, I have no idea what a Krang is.
You're not familiar with Krang?
Krang is from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and he's kind of like like a brain with like little stubby arms and a face. And he fights by putting the brain into like a little
Oh,
like
okay.
microwave shaped box in the middle of a big robot man who can fight.
So Matt's Batman reboot would involve Alfred's brain being
it's
taken
all
out of his
coming
skull,
back
or
to
maybe
me.
Alfred being deformed in such a way that he is just a head with little tiny arms. And
Yeah,
Well,
I
he
picture
did-
Alfred's head like on the head of the robot, so it's just a human head,
sort of like a
clearly attached
like a
to
Futurama
like a
type of
mechanoid.
thing. Maybe the head is in a
Yeah,
glass bowl.
Yeah, in a glass bowl.
Well-
Exactly.
Now we're talking.
Well, he did,
Guys, I think
you know,
we- I
in
think
the
we had a
movie we
movie.
watched, say that he downloaded his consciousness onto their iMac in the Batcave, I think. So I think, you know, we're not that far. I love that he put his whole personality onto that computer, yet it still skips when he talks on the audio. What is
Yeah,
that
it's-
about?
It's very Max Headroomy.
I was gonna say it's a Max Headroom thing.
Well, he's ahead of his time.
Is that a,
you
was
know.
that a pun?
He's ahead of his time.
It's
Yeah.
always fun when you surprise yourself with a pun.
You were really using your brain on that one.
Should we talk about like some of these? There are like protracted fights, like the standard, what's become the standard Batman fight of like a bunch of goons versus them, including that weird hockey team that they fight, and you know everything like that. There's a bunch of chases. I found myself really. I'm a fan of action movies, and I've already established that this is not very good, but I don't mind an action sequence. But I found all of these so boring. Like there was nothing interesting about any. It wasn't just that there was no stakes, and no like realistic gravity or anything. There just wasn't anything very clever going on in any of them. Like unless you count like Batman skating down a dinosaur's tail as clever. Or the terrible car chase where it looks like Matchbox cars driving on an oversized statue.
Yeah.
It was so, I couldn't be less enthusiastic about, like when people complain about Marvel movies and it's just like, oh, you know, it's just a bunch of colors and bright lights and explosions and it doesn't make any sense and who cares? I always feel like they find a way to make you invested in it. So I don't really understand that criticism. And then I see a movie like this and I'm like, oh, this must be what other people who don't like Marvel movies see when they watch Marvel movies. Because I could not get myself to enjoy any of the action in this.
I'll give it that there's like a lot going on, and maybe like it's interesting for kids. I think the biggest problem is that like it never knows when to quit, and the scenes tend to go on a little too long.
Yeah, they're long.
Case in point, like the action sequence. So they're fighting in the museum. He's freezing people, which is cool. They're flying around, like, you know, the wire work and all that stuff. Like, sure, that's a thing. And then, you know, he's getting away and his car turns into a rocket, which is
There's no need for
inherently
that.
cool. Yeah, well,
There's
it
no need
blasts
for a rocket
off,
ship in this scene.
but that's not
be
the
honest,
culmination of the scene.
Well, how are they going to surf out of the sky on doors of a rocket without a rocket ship, Colin?
Yeah, I mean, come on.
You think of a better way to get them into space.
You're right. I'll get.
And then they surf down,
I'll
and
get
like
on that right away.
no one is afraid of dying. They're just like gonna land somehow. their capes save them, I guess. And then they get down there and he freezes Rob. It just like goes on forever and ever when I feel like it should have ended with the rocket. Him like escaping via a rocket would be enough, you know?
Well, there's no specificity, which I think is, for me, what makes an action sequence. It's like, obviously Mr. Freeze has the freezing thing. And so there's specificity in that. But then everyone is just reacting to that. Like, Batman doesn't have a thing, Robin doesn't have a thing. They're all just reacting to this one element that doesn't make it cool. And like the key to a really, really cool action sequence is that you have all these different characters for different reasons, and they all can do different things, and so they should be reacting in different ways to the same scenario, and then bringing their own element into it. And it's like nobody's one-upping anything. It's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and there's no culmination. There's no build. It's just all these ridiculous stunts, and then also there's what you're talking about. There's nothing is grounded in reality. Like, schmiance is important in these movies. Like, I work on a superhero show, and I write an action sequence. It needs to make fucking sense. Like, in the world of what we're doing. If my character can fly, and she's not flying at all to beat a monster that's 50 feet high, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Why doesn't she just go up and laser it? And so then you need to solve a problem. So, like, you need to create a problem based on what your characters can do, and then solve it. Based on what your characters can do. Like, it's infuriating to watch and be like, that doesn't make any sense in the world of the movie.
And that's what the Marvel movies do really well, because, you know, like they'll say, and it's not just coming up with one thing like, okay, Peter Parker can shoot webs out of his, but it's like, how can he use those webs? Is he just going to tie everyone up? No, he's going to use, now he's going to grab Captain America's shield and use the shield to whip around, you know, like it's finding those little nuances to taking away a power or presenting a weakness, and then seeing how that character uses their, you know, innovations to overcome it. And there's none of that in this. You're right. That's exactly it. They're just not on that level here.
This is why it's like really obvious that the only reason they would have a rocket ship is so that there are surfboards underneath Batman and Robin, and there are angel wings inside of the freeze suit somehow, which would only happen if you wanted to put an extra piece of plastic into an action figure box when you're selling an action figure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the tail's wagging the dog on this in a lot of ways in that sense.
Also, the Mr. Freeze costume looks like it weighs a metric ton. It's like, I don't know if plastic wings are going to help, you know?
Yeah, that was the funniest thing. Is like when those wings popped out, I was like, wait, are we supposed to believe that he might be able to glide in that enormous suit based on wings that are barely wider than his shoulders? He might as well just flap his big-ass arms.
I'm pretty sure there's some kind of laser that eats diamonds inside of the wings.
If only I could find some diamonds in the air.
And that's the other thing with like the Poison Ivy, the climax of the Poison Ivy fight is like, first of all, if you have the power to command sentient vines that can choke a man to death, and you at some point find yourself in a switchblade fight with one of your enemies, you are already effed in the A. You have not creatively used your powers well enough if you get to that point. And then also, she gets kicked into that plant that eats her. And I'm like, wait, she was sitting in that fucking thing 5 minutes ago. Why can it eat her now? Like, what is going on? She controls it.
You control it. You control the plant.
Thing.
I severely wanted her to come back at the end. Like, you know, after they take care of Mr. Freeze, she shows up. She's all disheveled, kind of like Catwoman at the end of the second one. And she's got one last surprise for them. But no, that was it. That was literally how she was defeated by her own
It's just
throne.
all these stupid cheats. It's the same thing with like when they're attacking Mr. Freeze's lair and he shoots Batgirl's motorcycle with his freeze ray, right? And she has to jump off her motorcycle into the air. And then Robin swerves his vehicle over and catches her. And by the way, once again, the wire work looks terrible. There's no physics at all in any of this. It looks like everyone's just floating, dangling from wires. But then she hops off of Robin's vehicle and back onto her fucking bike, which got hit by the freeze ray, but still is managing to drive in a straight line alongside of them and maintain speed. It's like, God, don't...
Just kept going.
Have some rules and have some like outcomes and consequences for things.
Well, you told me Alfred designed it to do that when in his premonition, and like with his ability to work really hard from the side effects of McGregor syndrome.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with it.
I hate the part when Chris O'Donnell like reveals to her that her kiss won't work by like peeling off the like
Yeah, he
rubber
only
lips
peels
or
off
whatever.
the top lip. He doesn't do the bottom lip though.
But he's still like an inch away from her face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted her to lean
Plant
in and
one
just
on
be
him
like,
again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha, asshole.
You guys saw what I did, right? Like all I was thinking, he's like right here. Like why doesn't she just go like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
Oh.
Because she cares
Yeah.
about
She
consent.
does?
Yeah.
she's really ahead of her time.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
I also I think it's funny along the same token that he's got this big plan to get close to her and let her kiss him, and then reveal that he's actually immune to her kisses. And then he just lets her push him into the water where the plant vines grow. Like, this was all part of the plan, is get close to her and then let her beat you physically? What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also seems like those rubber lips should have been like a last resort. I don't think they would have had time to like pre-test that. Like
Yeah.
they get a few different fibers of rubber and like, you know, he tries on a few different lips. They create a sample like mannequin head with toxin on it, and he kisses that, and then we see
That's
which
because
one.
the real hero of this movie is Alfred inventing this shit
Yeah.
on the fly.
In his deathbed.
Yes.
By the way,
Yes.
those lips were just rubber cement. He didn't invent shit there. He was like, what if we just cover your faces in rubber cement? And they were like, ah.
But like, yeah, like how did they know it would work?
Batman was like, I trust you to try that out. Good fucking luck.
Our relationship's all about trust, and that's why I'm sending you in on this mission of testing out these fake ass lips. Good luck, buddy. See ya if you survive.
But then Batman immediately goes to the same place anyways, right? So I don't. And then Batgirl shows up. So why didn't they just go together?
Yeah. Did
The
you?
Batmobile doesn't even have a roof. They could all just kind of stack.
I like how when Batgirl, or when whatever her actual name is, Barbara, when she like hacks into the computer and it just like plays a movie for her, it just literally
Yeah.
plays the
Yeah.
opening credits to this movie.
It's
see
promotional
the Bat
materials.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look,
Yep.
promotional materials from the film I am in.
Also,
this
I
is
love that
giving me information.
that she's like a computer science major and such a good hacker that when they have to mess with Mr. Freeze's device at the end of the movie, she knows how to actually flip the monitor upside down, which I couldn't do on my computer if you gave me an hour to figure it out. So she's obviously very good at this. But then when she's trying to crack Alfred's code, she's just typing in random names, and apparently she gets as many chances as she wants. And
Margaret? Oh my god, that's, you know what? That bothered me. I was like, wouldn't after
It
like
freezes
3
up.
tries, wouldn't it just lock down? Like, what's happening? And I was like, why do
that
I
would
care
be a
about
very weird
this?
movie if she like accidentally locked it out and then couldn't even give it to brother Wilfred because she doesn't know them, because she's like locked him out as well, and it's like, oh fuck, I fucked up now. Also, Alfred gets through this big speech about how it's such confidential information that he can only trust family with it, and for the love of God, do not look at it. And she's like, can only trust family, huh? I'm going to betray that confidence immediately.
Yeah.
yeah.
Also, like, would Wilfred have known the password?
Yeah.
They haven't talked in like years or something, right?
He
There's
can't
no little
find him.
note.
And also,
I have a feeling Wilfred's dead.
yeah, what the
man.
fuck's up with
Like-
Wilfred's dead, right? Like, this is what we learned from this movie is they don't mention it at the end because he's a dead man.
Probably got stepped on by an elephant.
Wilfred also looks like Steve Carell. Did you guys see that part when they showed?
I
They
don't
zoom in on the
remember
picture
that,
of.
but I'll take your word for it.
Pretty sure it was a young Steve Carell in an early role.
Speaking of rando people, Mr. Freeze's wife was dating Clooney at the time, but around the same time, she was also dating our old friend John Peters, who just dates everyone. You know,
Wow.
John Peters did it. John Peters just sat around on their dates just pitching giant spider ideas for a future movie.
Well, here's another weird one. There's a guy, I don't know his name, I forget his name, but Uma Thurman was married to him for a while, and they have kids together. And also, Elle Macpherson was married to him for a while, and they have kids together.
Oh yeah, that French guy,
Yeah, he's a French guy.
and he just basically
Interesting.
knocks up beautiful women and then does not marry them, like refuses to marry them.
Yeah, oh, that's what it is. Yeah.
He's just living his best life.
Good for him.
He's a
Child
class
support
act.
going everywhere from that guy.
You know, they couldn't make this movie today because the Fox News crowd wouldn't like what a snowflake that Freeze's wife is.
I apologize, listeners.
I don't know if that's
Mamma
going to be the
mia.
worst one. I hope it is the worst one.
Well, at least
But
it didn't
I-
take a long time to get there.
Yeah. Well.
So I've got a question, or more like a discussion topic. For all the talk of Batman's impressive rogues gallery, there really aren't that many viable villains in Batman lore, which is probably why like every series ends up relying so heavily on the big four, you know? Like it's all those, it's like the ones from the TV show basically. And I don't think it's a coincidence that those four are probably the most grounded of all the villains. You know, like they're all like, they don't have any terribly unrealistic gimmicks, because like you've got this other layer of the kind of soft sci-fi ones like Bane and Mr. Freeze and the Mad Hatter. And then you got full-on supernatural people like Poison Ivy and Ra's al Ghul and Sandman. And it gets a lot harder to make a movie for grown-ups while incorporating those elements, which is I think why they go back to Penguin, Riddler, Joker, Catwoman all over and over again.
Sandman is a Spider-Man villain, Harris.
Oh, I mean, whatever Clayface. That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, thank you. You also didn't mention the Man-Bat, did you?
No, I didn't mention them, but he would definitely fall into the sci-fi, or I mean, not the sci-fi, the supernatural, I think. But it's like,
I don't know. You listed a bunch of villains, and I think they're all cool. I don't understand.
well, you could think they're all cool. I'm just saying, like, it's hard to write a movie for grown-ups when one of your premises is just kind of ridiculous.
I think the Christopher Nolan movies do a good job of choosing villains.
Yes.
So, you know, they for their first one out, they go with Ra's al Ghul and the Scarecrow, and they did a really good job of making the two of them real. You know,
They ground them. Ra's al Ghul has no supernatural powers in that movie, you know?
right.
And like imagine Christopher Nolan selling Clayface or Mr. Freeze. He couldn't have done it, you know?
Yeah.
I would have liked to see what Christopher Nolan's version of the Lazarus Pit would be.
I mean, his version would be doesn't have one. Like we saw his version of Lazarus Pit, and it was the whole mistaken identity. Yeah, drugs and
Yeah.
lying about who you actually are. You know that's how Ra's al Ghul resurrected himself, was not being Ra's al Ghul the first time we meet him.
It's a dread
which
pirate-
is very clever.
pirate
It's really well
Roberts.
done. But
It's a Dread Pirate Roberts.
exactly.
God, that
Yes.
was so hard to say.
Dread
got a lot of
Pirate
R's in it.
Roberts.
Pirate Roberts.
Dread Pirate Roberts.
Jesus.
That's probably how like some of the crew of the ship says it. They're like, you know, just like low level pirates, and they're like, oh yeah, I work for
He's got so many R's in his name.
Did we cover everything about this movie? What have we got?
Oh,
left?
do you guys know what a pirate's favorite letter is?
I think we just made a
Don't
joke.
say it.
I know this one.
Don't.
You have to answer so I can do the
R.
Oh, you would think that, but really it's the C.
Ah! I enjoyed that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right, score one for Colin. That makes it 1-. Well, we could play top four.
Oh yeah, let's
yeah.
do that.
Do
Alright.
you want me to do it this time? So I've never like been the question asker.
Why don't you do it next? Let's just do it so the person who does the summaries does it from now on.
All right.
right?
That sounds like a lot of rules. I don't like
Rule
rules.
I like rules.
I don't like rules.
Make sense.
Because I've already been doing it and I've been doing the summaries. So,
I don't play by the rules.
and this is the first.
And I think this is a post Chandler game.
I'm not
Oh yeah,
played
so
this.
Chandler's never played top four before. Okay,
How fun.
well this game is played on the honor system, so no cheating. But what we're going to do is we're going to do the top 4 movies according to IMDb of one of the people in this film, and keep in mind that IMDb is crazy dumb about how they pick their top 4, so it's weird.
Okay.
And the person that we're going to choose, unfortunately, we can't do either of the ladies because Uma Thurman and Alicia Silverstone, it's like their most famous movies and this turd. I wanted to do George Clooney, but they're so
Gattaca.
I wanted to do George Clooney, but they're so fucking obscure that you guys would probably get through the hint round without even getting one.
Syriana.
One
Sorry.
fine day.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do Arnold.
Arnold.
Oh,
Arnold.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Predator.
Yes.
I can't do
So,
it.
I've been training all my life for this day.
yeah. So Chandler, you are up first. Name an Arnold movie that is in his top 4 movies on IMDb.
Jingle All the Way.
I find that unlikely.
Excellent guess.
Making
that is,
a statement early.
that is absolutely wrong.
But it
All
felt
right,
right.
Matt, you want to go next?
Yeah, I will say confidently Terminator 2.
The Iceman cometh.
Ding, ding, ding. You got it. That's one.
All right, I'm going to guess The Terminator.
A laundry service that delivers. Wow.
Wrong.
Wrong.
Chandler, you're up again.
Predator.
Well, look at you.
Ding, ding, ding. You got 2 of them. I would say the
Wow.
two easier ones, but you did get 2 of them.
Oh no.
All right, Matt.
It's back to me, huh? Ooh. So the next 2 are a little more difficult, a little more obscure.
Yes.
Let me guess.
I will say True Lies.
Welcome home, Frostface.
That's a good guess.
That is a good guess, though.
Didn't think so.
See, it's really hard. Like, I want to do a real guess, but I also want to say The Sixth Day. Twins.
I hate when people talk during the movie.
Oh, I should have gone Kindergarten Cop. I mean, don't steal my.
Oh.
Oh, wait. This is the hint round, right?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh yeah.
Now it is, yeah.
All right. What's a good hint? All right.
Are you going to give a hint for each of them?
No, I'm just going to give a hint for one. I'm trying to find a hint that works with this. One of these movies was the writer of one of these movies played a significant role in one of the ones you've already guessed.
Oh.
Chandler, you're up.
The Expendables?
I find that unlikely.
Is that even what it's called?
Yes. That
Okay.
is a movie that Arnold is in.
Okay.
Are you talking about Shane Black? Is that the person?
Yeah, this is a Shane Black written movie starring Arnold.
How many clues do you want, guys? I gave you a clue. Now you have to guess.
Okay.
Shit, I don't know. I am going to jump in and say Kindergarten Cop, though. Is that one?
No matter what they tell you, Mr. Bane, it is the size of your gun that counts.
No, it's not.
Damn it. I wish Shane Black wrote that.
I want to guess Last Action Hero.
Stay cool, bird boy.
Ding, ding, ding. That is a Shane
That's
Black
it,
movie
yeah.
that Arnold is in. All right. So, for your final... God, I don't even know how to clue this one. For the clue to your final movie... My God.
Give us the decade that it's from.
I will give you the decade and the genre. It is from the 2000s, and it is a sci-fi movie. Chandler?
It's not the new Terminator, is it?
That's my exit cue.
No, it is not. It is not any new Terminator.
Is it End of Days?
Surprise.
No.
Oh.
All right, Colin.
The Sixth Day.
Freeze in hell, Batman!
Ding, 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 ding.
Yes! I did good. I beat
I
both
haven't
of you,
even
didn't
heard of that.
Yeah,
What is
you did,
that?
Colin. Came from behind and nailed it.
Oh, yeah.
For some
Wait,
reason.
I thought he already guessed the sixth
No,
day.
Colin said it as
And
a
it was
joke.
wrong.
It wasn't his real,
Yeah.
because then he guessed something else. He guessed twins.
Yeah. Which I thought I used it as a guess, but then I figured out from like the way Harris was like sitting there that I had not used it as a guess
Yeah.
in his
Clearly.
opinion.
Wait, how could it be Terminator 2, Predator, Last Action Hero, and the sixth fucking day?
Ask IMDb. This is why they suck so bad.
What the fuck?
You want to take a quick shot at? I bet you guys go 2 rounds and don't get a single George Clooney one.
Really?
Up
Yeah.
in the air.
Okay.
Well, are you counting the ones that we
God damn it,
shouted out
Chandler.
before?
Yeah!
Which one?
Up in the
Up in
air.
the air.
She got it in the first fucking guess.
I knew that was gonna be one. That's when they were like, "Ooh,
I said One
Oscar-worthy.
Fine Day earlier. Is that
No,
one of
that
them?
is not one.
From Dusk Till
What
Dawn."
about Syriana?
No, that is not one.
What about Syriana?
The
No,
Peacemaker.
Syriana is not one. One Fine Day is not one. Peacemaker is not one. Chandler, you got a
Dusk
second
Till
guess
Dawn?
that's gonna break my heart?
She said Dust Till Dawn.
Oh no, that's not one.
Does it include his television works?
Nope.
Is it the new thing on Netflix or whatever
Nope.
that I saw the billboard for? Okay.
Ocean's 11.
Nope.
Ocean's
12.
13.
Nope. No Oceans movies.
Interesting.
Good night, good morning.
Oh,
luck?
Descendants.
Oh.
No, not Descendants. Yes. Good night and good luck.
Woo! Wow, what a great night for
Killing it.
me.
In fact, I'm shocked by this. No Soderbergh movies.
Okay.
Wow.
And
Oh.
no Soderbergh movies and no Coen Brothers movies.
Really?
Whoa.
ER.
No, it's not a TV show.
Wait, it's the one he's in with Jennifer Lopez. I can't think of
No,
the name
that's a
of it.
Soderbergh movie. Out of
Oh,
sight.
what's
Damn,
the
you're right.
what's the one about divorce with Catherine Zeta-Jones?
That was The Descendants, but it was not one.
Yep.
What about the Catherine Zeta-Jones divorce movie?
That's a Coen Brothers movie. I said no Coen Brothers movies.
That's was it called? Like, Cruel something?
Intolerable Cruelty. And it's actually very
Oh
good.
yeah.
Not
Okay.
their best, but still very watchable.
I didn't know that was Coen Brothers.
Yep. Yeah.
So
You
we're
guys-
missing one or two?
There are two left, and one of them you'll never get. I'll just give it to you. It's
No. Give
my-
us a hint.
I don't even know how to give you a hint. Ryan Gosling's in it. That's your hint.
Is that the football
Can you remember
one?
that movie?
No. Leatherheads. I'm guessing Leatherheads for the other one, though.
No. But my God, what a random ass obscure movie.
With John Krasinski.
Yep. But I mean,
Yeah, wow.
you're onto something there because that's a George Clooney directorial movie, which the Gosling movie is also.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
But I don't. But I'm
Drive.
betting you guys, even if you can remember it, you won't be able to remember what it's called.
This is a movie that doesn't exist, basically.
Yeah.
Is it that rom-com with Steve Carell
No.
where they're
No.
like, oh.
No, he's in this one as an actor as well.
Not
Oh.
placed. No, that's what's his face.
All right, I'll give you one more clue to the other one. The other one is actually, well, I don't even know what clue to give you. The other one was directed by the same guy who wrote and directed Nightcrawler, and it's actually one of Clooney's better movies.
Yeah, and his name is Gilroy. Dan
Yep.
Gilroy, is that it?
Actually,
I know it. Michael Clayton.
yeah, Michael Clayton. Yep.
Oh, I love that movie. I should have
Never
guessed that
seen
the
it.
first
Yeah,
one.
that's a good one.
Oh wait, but
man.
is it
We need
Dan
to talk
Gilroy
about
or-
Kevin?
No, actually, I was wrong though. That was a bad clue because it's actually Dan Gilroy wrote and directed Nightcrawler.
Tony
Tony
Gilroy.
Gilroy produced Nightcrawler and wrote and directed Michael Clayton.
You should have
They're
given a
brothers,
hint
I think.
about the
They are
what's
brothers.
the Carmine Falcone guy, Wilkinson or something like
Yeah,
that?
Tom Wilkinson.
Yeah.
All right, this last one you're never gonna get. Did you give up on this Ryan Gosling one?
Just give us one more hint. Like, give us a really
Oh my
good
God,
hint.
the title
Is it
is
Drive?
from Shakespeare, I think.
Much Ado About Nothing.
No, it's the exact line from Shakespeare I think is "Beware," and then the title.
The
The Ides of March.
March.
Oh, I
Ides
got
of
it.
Oh, with,
right.
with what's
Good
his
job,
face
guys.
with that did House of Cards.
I mean, really,
Aren't we?
That was a
I
boring
would have
movie.
I
was
would have been right
bored.
about the 2 rounds if Chandler hadn't immediately gotten up in the air on their first fucking guess, which just absolutely devastated me. But nice job. I don't know what the Ides of March actually are, so you
It's
tell
like
me.
in March.
It's March 15th.
March 15th.
It's like the
is.
middle of
yeah,
March.
why did I just look this up recently?
Well, then how is there more than one Ide?
March 15th happens every year. I don't know if you knew this.
I think the word Ides with an S at the end of it just means like the middle.
It's not plural. It's just
Right. So
Yeah.
so it's some number of days around the middle of March. So we could be in it. We could be in it. I
Yeah.
want to be in it.
I wish
wanna
we had
feel
some kind of way
Ide.
of looking this shit up. But then
No.
I don't care that much, so let's not.
No, only like a wizard would know that.
Where's Barbara Wilson or Barbara?
Yeah,
What's her name in this
get on the
movie?
computer and look this shit up.
Because she's supposed to be Barbara Gordon. That's what she is in.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
right,
also
right,
a big bummer.
Yeah.
I read that they didn't want to say she was Commissioner Gordon's daughter because they didn't think anyone would believe that she was the offspring of
Yeah.
the actor who plays
get
But was
it.
that because
He's
he's
an
so
idiot.
old? Because they didn't make it much better by saying she's Alfred's niece.
Like, of all the things we're meant to believe
Right.
and to buy into
Yeah.
in this movie, that was the thing that they thought we wouldn't.
That was unrealistic for them. They're like, oh, the rest of it has to be. We're trying to keep this movie kind of grounded, guys. So let's not have something ridiculous like a 17-year-old could be this guy's daughter.
Well, up until this point, we haven't seen Commissioner Gordon really do anything worthwhile at all, and all he does is flip a switch in this one, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Or he almost dies from, like, cold air or something. Do you remember that
Oh
part?
yeah, I love when they turn on the cold air and all their lungs are freezing, I guess, and a guy takes the time as his lungs are freezing to say, "My lungs, they're freezing."
Well, then how else will we know?
That was happening in the last movie. It's like they have to make sure that the 4-year-olds in the audience who this movie's actually directed towards don't miss anything. So the characters have to
boiling
literally narrate
acid.
everything that's going on. I do like that they actually cast a teenager as an orphan that needs a home to go to in a role of a teenager who needs
Instead of a 35-year-old guy.
instead of like a 28-year-old who looks like a full-ass grown man.
Yeah. Do you guys think that, like, if Alicia Silverstone at that time had,
No.
like, accidentally, like,
I'm with Chandler on this. I don't know what you're about to say, but the answer is a clear and emphatic no.
she like accidentally, like, got, her flight canceled or delayed and, like,
No.
through DFW, and she just, like, decided to go explore Dallas. and-
No. Just not a chance. And she'd been being fat shamed on the internet for weeks, so her self-esteem was really low. She was kind of desperate for any kind of validation. No, still no, no.
Also, illegal?
What? I mean, yeah.
Why'd you say yeah? Like, well.
I don't know. It depends on how old young Colin Shaw was at that point.
I didn't say she was going to do anything wrong. I just was setting up the possibility that she could have met me.
I suppose. I think she was 18 when this movie came out.
It's not like I think she's going to, like, just stuff me in her suitcase and fly back to LA with, like, me in the suitcase or something.
Is that-
But you'd be willing to go
kidnapping.
in the suitcase if possible.
Yeah, but did you think she would do that? No.
That's what was stopping her. That's all that was holding her back.
My
It's like,
therapist
oh,
has
man, if this
blocked
wasn't
my
a
calls.
crime-
Somebody please answer this question for me.
No, but, yeah, I'm being funny, but I had a big crush on her.
Are you?
Yeah, I did.
I think one of my I can't help, I'm actually watching this movie for the second time as we're doing this, and I have to say, I know it occurs in every single Batman movie, but this is the one that takes it the farthest, where I really have a hard time putting up with it, is the amount of line they would have to have on their person to, like, fall hundreds of feet and then shoot a line into the air that they can somehow, like, forget about the ridiculousness of the physics of these little batarangs traveling so fast and then anchoring onto something and then not just jerking their entire body till their arms plop out, but, like, they would have to have, like, hundreds of feet of cable on them at all times, like, so much that it would actually, like, weigh just tons, like literal tons.
Not to mention the weight. Like, they make a kind of a big deal of it in the first movie with Kim Basinger, and
Right.
they're like, you don't weigh 108 pounds. Now it could carry, like, three people.
And it's part of a structure.
From an iceberg or an icicle or whatever the fuck is hanging on to.
I really like that one guy who plays the scientist. He was actually in Forever also.
Yes, so was the lady. She was the
Yeah.
secretary. in the-
Both of them were.
Yeah, she was the
Yeah.
secretary in the last one. They're shoemaker.
We're just
people.
missing Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm upset about is that no one in real life has had the balls to build an observatory that looks like that.
It's
Being carried by a giant man statue.
yeah.
Yes.
It's because in the real world we're so beholden to not using a lot of construction material for just, like, decorative but also structural things, where it's like, instead of just, like, we always want to occupy spaces with useful stuff and not just have, like, the bulk of every building be just unusable statue,
Like, what if, like, the LA mayor just came out and he was like, "We have plans to replace Griffith Observatory with this."
And it is 3 times the size of the Statue of Liberty and serves no function except to have a lot of stairs to get up to it.
There will be no elevator, just 16 million stairs.
Yes. The interior of the chest cavity will not be leased out as office space. It is here strictly as decoration.
Yeah.
And of course, for homeless people to squat in. That is the reality. If Gotham City was really this bad off, all of these giant statues would just be full of Skid Row tents.
Also,
There will be a public restroom inside.
yeah.
With showers for some reason.
And also, the entire place will smell like a public restroom. So basically, I guess everything inside will be a public restroom.
Also, I'm under the impression that Gotham City has the amount of light pollution that would make an observatory itself be decorative in general.
I guess that's not why you had to put it on a giant sculpture. It's
Yeah.
like elevated above.
Yeah. Should we rate this thing?
I guess so.
I guess so.
Ready
I just
for
can't
dolphins.
believe. I'm looking forward to being disappointed by whatever Colin rates it, and just shaking.
Let's
my
rate
head
them
sadly.
quick, because then we got to reveal what our next franchise is.
Oh yeah, right. Okay. Well, who wants to go first? I would like to claim last spot. I don't think I've done that in a while.
I could go first. I haven't gone first in a while. Batman and Robin. What can I say that hasn't already been said? I enjoyed watching this movie more than I thought I would. I feel like in the past, I've put this movie on as a gag many times, and so I've watched that opening sequence, the first like 15 minutes or so action sequence, more than the rest of the movie. But now, like, watching the whole thing, I think I just want to reiterate what I said before, in that, like, I watched it with my inner child at the forefront, and as a kid, I feel like I really would have liked this movie. When I saw this, I was in 7th grade, 8th grade, so I was like a little too old to like really enjoy it. I kind of was aware enough at that point to see that this was bad. It's not for me. But I think if I was like 5 or 6 or 10 even, I might have glommed onto this a little more. But having said that, I feel like this movie knows what it is, and I think that everybody watching it didn't know what it was. And if only like we, had a piece of Joel Schumacher's vision or mindset like in us as we were watching this, I think it would have been a little more widely accepted. But I feel like this movie was, kind of bashed for not meeting the expectations of what people were looking for in a Batman movie, even though the movie prior to this is like pretty similar in tone.
That should
and
have set the
style
expectations.
and acting. Yeah. So I feel like this movie got a bad rap, even though it is silly and for kids, but it does a good job of being silly and for kids. And for that, I have to give it... It's not my favorite. It's somewhere in the middle of the road for me. I don't think it's completely terrible, unwatchable. I think it's still fun, funny, kind of silly movie to enjoy with kids. So for that, I give it 5 Timothy Dolphins.
Ooh. I'll go next. I want
And Colin says, "Hold my beer."
Yeah.
Can I give him 40? No, sorry. Because the scale is not that. Yeah, going off of what Matt said. Going off of what Matt said is, what was the exact words you used? Is that it's not what people thought it would be, or not what a lot of the audience thought it would be. I think there was a perception that this was like on a trajectory towards making Batman more mainstream and pop culture, and it was really on a trajectory to making it more all audiences or all, something like that. And yeah, and also what the other thing he was talking about is like he was old enough to be aware that it was for kids, and that kind of disappointed him.
I think Colin's about to give Matt's Timothy Dolphin rating a Timothy Dolphin rating.
Yeah.
I just don't want to talk too long, so I'm gonna try to just say what he said. I was old enough to be aware that it was for kids, but I was also like at that age where I was becoming aware that I was going to like whatever Alicia Silverstone did in the movie. So that's, I had a big crush on her. I don't know. That was a big thing for me.
You might say you were crying over her. Does anyone get that one?
Aerosmith? Come
What
on.
about
Oh.
crushing on her?
I was gonna say you
Yeah.
might say he had the crush on her.
I don't know. all these jokes you guys are making, I'm totally clueless.
Okay, then you're a fake fan.
All right. So how many dolphins did Alicia win here?
Yeah, well, I'd be right on board with Matt with the 5, but I've got to give it more points than that, obviously.
You really don't.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give it a 7.
Oh,
Wow.
all right, Chandler, talk some sense.
Oh boy, oh boy. Okay.
Wait, 7 Timothy Dolphins. I didn't say the magic.
Mine is gonna be not high, but higher than I think I would have if I didn't have any kind of nostalgia attached to it. Because when I watched it, I had no expectations. I watched it. My brother likes this thing. I'm gonna like this thing. And when I watched mine today too, actually, and I thought it was fun and funny in like the dumbest way possible. But for me, even if it is a superhero movie or show or whatever, you can't make your superheroes look dumb. Like, you can have a fun villain, and your villain can win to an extent, but if your heroes look dumb, like, what are we even rooting for? What are we doing? And I've said this before on this podcast specifically, like, emotional journeys are so important to me. Like, at the very least, if you're fucking surfing through the air and it's stupid and dumb, but your emotional journey and your character arc over the movie makes sense to me, I can buy that and I can get on board with that. But nobody learned anything. It was a mess. Not only that, it wasn't like it was just all action and cool plot. Like, the plot was all over the place. Nothing tracked for me at all. Like, even Mr. Freeze, who had the closest thing to an emotional journey, he said in the beginning, emotions make you weak. And his whole fucking plan is based on his love for his wife, to save her and cure her. So, again, that didn't make sense. But I love ice puns. I was texting ice puns to my friend today because of it. So, purely because of the ice puns, and because I thought Uma Thurman was so hot, I'm going to give it 5 Timothy Dolphins.
Right. Everyone
Solid
apparently
score.
thinks this movie's half good, which is
Look, it's not good. It's just I had a really good time.
Yeah.
all right.
I can enjoy
Yeah, we're
it.
able to acknowledge what the movie is and whether it did a good job achieving that
I like
goal.
how
Whether that bar is here or here,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
I like how Matt said he puts it on as a joke, like it's like he's rickrolling people or something. But you know what? That song from the rickrolling video, that's still a good song.
yeah.
Sort of.
Listen, I acknowledge what this movie is, and if it had done it well, I would also agree with you guys that this was, good at what it was trying to do. I think I was unfair to Batman Forever when I watched it when I was younger because I didn't understand that it was a kids movie. That having been said, even as a kids oriented superhero movie, because this isn't, Colin, I will debate one thing that you said, that this was trying to be more all audiences, because if it was all audiences it wouldn't be so fucking stupid. This was aimed at children. This was aimed at people who didn't know any better and didn't care that the punches and kicks weren't landing and didn't care that everything looked goofy and fake. This was not trying to be a smart movie that could be taken seriously. It was a movie that didn't care that it was dumb and was doing dumb things. And I understand that the ambition was to appeal to children, and maybe it did, but I think even 6-year-old me would have found this cheesy and stupid. I think that it's one scene after another of bad dialogue, cheesy action, characters that I'm not invested in. I think everything Chandler said about this not, respecting its characters' arcs and not really having a coherent plot is completely valid, and that should apply even if you're only trying to appeal to dumb kids, If anything,
Yeah.
I felt this movie was worse than advertised. I did not enjoy it. I hated every second of watching it. I struggled to come up with a single nice thing to say about it because I do think that everything about it is bad and everyone who's working on it failed at their job to some degree, except for maybe.
But it makes me laugh.
Except for maybe this. Well, it didn't make me laugh a single time. Even the jokes were bad. But Batman and Robin has a well-deserved reputation as one of the worst movies ever made. And honestly, watching them back to back, Batman Forever is almost as bad. So I give this because I appreciate the actors who like fully committed to this turd, and I feel bad for them for having to be in it. I'm giving this a very generous 1 Timothy Dolphins.
Wow.
Yes, it was. This is one of this is
the
one of
lowest
the worst
score
movies
ever.
I can remember watching, and I can't believe that I had to watch it. And I really honestly think that even if I was 6 years old, I would still think this is pretty dumb, even for a kids movie. But it has no appeal to. I don't understand how this has any appeal to anybody that's not a child or doesn't have huge nostalgia for it.
But all that stuff you're saying is like, I know it, and I'm like laughing at how bad they failed. And, like,
Yeah, but that's the thing. If it was as bad as like, this is why it's not the worst movie ever made, because when you get a movie like The Room or something that is just made by totally like, I realized that there are actually professionals who have done good things in other movies who made this piece of shit, and I'm just like, oh my god, this has to be so embarrassing. Like, I'm mortified for them that they were a part of this, because this has to be the nadir of all their careers, you know. So I you know, like, and it's not even bad enough to be entertainingly bad, because it still is like kind of competent and just not good, you know.
So here's the big question. You know, at some point you're on America's Funniest Home Videos and you get hit in the nuts, but can you like go on to great things from there? You know.
Me personally.
No, I think everyone dies after getting kicked in the nuts, right? That's
Yeah,
like
I
your
could-
guys' disruption.
I mean, I've overcome some hilarious nut shots in my life, so and I continue to bounce back after every one of them. So
Yeah. So that's what the Clooneys of this movie got to do.
yeah, and even the Alicia
it's
Silverstones, although it took a
Yeah.
while.
I like how you pronounce
Yeah.
Alicia.
Is it Alicia?
Alicia. Alicia.
Yeah, I would say Alicia.
Alicia.
Yeah.
I never know because they're spelled the same, but
Alicia.
people, yeah, but all those names are all spelled exactly the same.
Alicia.
And wow, Colin found the one unacceptable pronunciation.
Oh my God, it's you, Alicia.
Yeah. Oh, actually, it's pronounced Alicia.
Emphasis on the ah.
Ah.
Yeah, say it like you've just been surprised by a Halloween prank.
Alicia.
All right, well, you can hear more about our official rankings for this Batman series in our upcoming series wrap-up episode, which we'll post in a few days after this episode. But for now, we're going to unveil not just we'll only unveil our next series, but let me preface by saying Harris, Colin, and I have agreed to each choose a series for our next. We take turns choosing these movie series, and we all decided for our next one that we would choose a twofer. That's a movie series that only consists of 2 films. So we're each doing one. So we're announcing our trilogy of twofers. Part 1 revealed to you right now. Our next series that we're about to cover is Mortal Kombat. Get over here! That's right, the 1995 video game to movie adaptation directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. Classic film, classic video
That's
game.
him.
We're going to have a lot to say. Followed by its inevitable sequel, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which I believe came out in 1997.
When's the new one come out?
Could be wrong about that.
Yeah, they got
That's why we're doing this, because on our Patreon, we're going to cover the new Mortal Kombat movie that is coming out on HBO Max on like April 18th, I think, 17th, something like that.
I'm looking forward to this one because I loved the first. I loved like action movies and kung fu movies and stuff, and I thought that the first Mortal Kombat when I was younger was like the perfect blend of sort of the sci-fi animation or action and also like grounded kung fu and stuff like that. And I don't think I used to own that movie and watch it a bunch of times when I was like a teenager, and I don't think I've seen it in like 20 years. So I'm kind of looking forward to revisiting it and seeing if it holds up. And the second one I only watched once, and I'm looking forward to watching that one again too.
I saw that one in the theater, and I cannot wait to.
Who picked it?
Yeah.
Who picked this one?
Matt.
I picked it.
Yeah. And it's weird because Harris specifically picked Batman just to do Batman and Robin, and then he gave it a 1.
Really?
No, that's not true.
Oh,
I picked
okay.
Batman. It
Yeah,
sounded
so we
true,
won't
though.
reveal what the other two for series are just yet.
But you won't have to wait too long because we're only doing 2 movies apiece now. So
Exactly.
Well, that's a show.
So
Way to
Chandler,
go out with a
once
bang.
again, thank you for being our closer.
Woo, woo,
Yeah.
woo. Thanks
Series
for having
closer.
me. When will this come out?
Yeah. That's a great question.
We didn't,
This will air
We didn't ask
on-
Chandler if she wants to, if there's anything she wants to plug or talk about.
Yeah, we're
or-
getting there, Colin. We're getting there.
Oh,
She asked me a question. This episode comes out on April 12th.
Okay.
which
well,
is today, obviously, listeners.
That's today.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
So
it's
Chandler's
like-
basically asking what day is today.
what day is today? Let's see. The 12th, April 12th is a Monday. Oh my God. Okay, so this is great. So
That's why we all have a case of the Mondays.
leading into my plug, Supergirl's 6th and final season premieres on March 30th. We'll have now passed, but it airs every Tuesday in the Superman and Lois's slot. So, guys, watch the new episode tomorrow. I'm not going to do the math. I don't know. That might be like the 3rd episode or something. So watch Supergirl, and then my episode will air sometime in the summer. I don't know when. Doesn't have an air date, but I'll probably be back before then, and I'll tell you all about
Yay.
it when I know.
Nice. Yeah, we'll have to have you back before then.
Wee.
Awesome. Where can people follow you? I know you've said this before, but maybe you have some new social media
I
stuff.
don't. I'm still on Instagram and Twitter. I deleted my Facebook because my
Not on-
mom
not
was
on
stalking
Parler
me.
yet?
What? Oh my God! Actually, I just learned about this. My friend invited me or something, but I'm not in yet. I don't even know what it is, but I'm like in line or something.
Oh, is that the Clubhouse thing?
Yeah.
Oh.
Right? Hold on. Let me check my
We're
app.
we're getting into that.
Harris
Clubhouse.
said Parlor,
I said
and
Parler,
you're like,
which is-
oh, I'm about to be on it. I'm like, what?
Oh, what's Parler? Oh no, you're right.
Parler's
It's
the-
Clubhouse.
Parler's like the right wing one
Yeah.
where they
Oh
where
my
they don't
God.
cancel
I'm not on
anybody.
that. I'm not on that. No wonder I was confused because I don't even know what the fuck that is. Yeah. Anyway, I'm on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Parlor's like a second Twitter where they can't cancel you for
Ew.
like, endangering
Oh my God, I
people's
think my
lives.
ex-boyfriend is on Parler, and that's why he's now my ex-boyfriend. I think he's off the deep end. But anyway, he's blocked everyone.
Canceled
Nice.
Cancel.
everywhere but
Well,
Parler.
we're all on Clubhouse too, so maybe we can do a live podcast one of these
Cool.
days.
I don't
Once
even
we
know how
figure
it
out what
works.
Clubhouse is,
Am
and once
don't
I
even know,
actually,
am I on it?
once I actually join it, I guess.
Oh yeah, it says welcome. Here I am.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, you got farther than I did. Thanks for the invite, Matt. I will do it at
I-
some point.
I'm a little confused because I thought it was like an internet thing, so like we're supposed to call it Clubhouse if we say it in real life.
I just thought it had a lot of vowels for an internet thing.
What is
Shouldn't it be like Clubhouse
Clubhouse.
without the U, without either of the U's? So it's the,
Right? It's
Or
like,
like
Clubhouse.
Haus with an umlaut.
yeah,
over
with
the
the
U.
umlauts.
Clubhouse.
I don't understand this app. Okay. Anyway, teach
ooh, maybe a
me.
Mew. That's
All
a
right, so we're all
character,
going to
right?
experiment with
Mew?
Clubhouse, and we will reconvene
Sorry.
here
Okay, yeah.
in 2 months to go over our Clubhouse stuff.
All right, so I think we're done. I think what's going to take us out is all of us in unison screaming, "The Iceman cometh." What do you guys think of
Oh
that
my
as a
God.
closer?
I'm already tired of this us yelling stuff in unison to end episodes, but hopefully that'll
Everybody
die out.
chill.
It will never die. 1, 2, 3. The
Iceman
Iceman
cometh.
cometh.
The Iceman cometh.